Good morning, traders. What's going on out there? Who's ready for another week right here, guys? And I know that it was a pretty rough week for the markets last week, but great bounce back already. Things are looking a lot better. We got to look underneath the hood and a Fubo deal. Yes, Fubo TV. We were just talking about that a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about it, how there's subscribers there that could be an acquisition or somebody would want the subscribers. Just like at some point, I thought Robinhood would be one of those types of mentions. It's always important to stay with these types of names. We'll talk all about Fubo and Disney. All right, guys, let's get right to the show. We'll take a look into this, the playbook. We'll go take a look what's to trade out there. It's the January effect, guys. I know that it hasn't been strong, but I'm excited to start the show today. Of course, it's TTP Live. We'll talk a little bit about some stocks. We'll get into the action. We got the sunrise report to get into. Let's kick things off with today's playbook. All right, first up on the playbook, we're going to take a look at none other than some smaller names. Yes, some small caps. And I think that we got to really watch these as they're hot right now. And this is the time of year for them to be hot, right? The January effect a lot of the times goes for the smaller names. So I'm calling out QuantumScape here. QS. So QS is, of course, a battery maker play that has been working on technology like what? Solid state battery, SSD, SSB. Of course, when you're talking the solid state battery, this is the important transition in electric vehicles, right? Right now, you got lithium batteries that sometimes hold what? Maybe 300 miles, maybe 400. But when we talk solid state batteries, we're now talking 500 range miles, right? 600, 700 range miles. This is the big move that is going to be happening if we really want EVs to go. So now QS has been slowly but surely building up here, trying to make a bigger move. Just recently on the 26th, it made a move, and the 27th to 638s. Now it's starting to climb again. And when did it start? Right there on Tuesday, the Thursday, the start of the year. It's already up 17% for the year. So be careful out there. It is a little bit higher and extended, but I'm looking for slight undercuts below 6, closer towards 590s and 580s on the pullback to hold and then start going back through the high to the left. We'll see what happens when it gets through that level around the 636, a great level to watch there. All right, we'll take a look at some other action. That's QuantumScape, of course, and getting into some battery session there. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about a stock that we've been watching for a long time. We started watching this one when Tesla started talking about the moves with autonomous. And take a look. We actually drew this gap fill for and created it on November 19th. So that's how long we've been looking at this move, guys. Look at Mobileye continue the move higher now. It did fill the gap and continuing through that 20, now above the 200 moving average, could really start making its way back towards the next resistance, which is right above it. Right there, guys, to 23. So 23 looking like it could reach today, 23.50. We'll see if we're able to get Mobileye higher here. Now, the big thing here is, of course, looking into autonomous plays, right? There's a small cap one that we can keep a watch on, which is AUR. So if you are not liking Mobileye because you feel like it's a little extended, you can take a look at this one, AUR, and we'll see how some of these other ones start to make a move. And of course, these are LiDAR ones. But of course, Tesla, as long as Tesla can continue kind of lifting, I don't think these are looking too bad for an autonomous play. All right, let's continue going. Let's go to another area. This one's more of my speculative outlook. I've been thinking about what would happen in 3D printing, right? Will 3D printing come back into play? I think it could this year, right? I think that you've seen more and more 3D printing mentioned pretty much everywhere. And now 3D printers aren't as expensive. But for a long time, they're just not viewed as the kind of the profitable way to go. Now I think that's slowly going to start changing the trend, right? I think that trend will start to change. And I'm looking for this theme to get hot in 2025. We'll see if Triple D 3D systems can start to get this going. You can see how it's kind of in this kind of flagging action, just pushed off a kind of nice inverse hammer candy, and now starting to push back to the 350s. Can it make its way to 4 and 5? Those are the areas that I'd be looking for on 3D systems. So a little bit of a different stock, not something that you probably think about all the time, but excited to go ahead and take a look to see if some of these small caps really kick things off. All right, then that's going to do it for our playbook today. Like always, guys, our playbook is all about what you guys should be doing every single day, right? Creating a watch list, looking into the markets, and understanding what am I looking for? Psychological, story, fundamentals, and technicals are all bound to trading, right? You got to know all the variables sometimes. And when you can combine variables, you can create what? Conviction. Conviction's so important when you're trading. All right, we'll see what happens with these names. We'll take a look at some of the other action in the market with the Sunrise Report. Of course, the Sunrise Report is where we take a look into the market overall, take a look at the action that's going on. And there's some small caps that are moving. I didn't even look at them today. I'll be as honest as I can be. I was looking at bigger cap names, sectors, industries. So we'll have to do a little bit of some deep dive into the small cap names coming up. So stick around, guys. We got a lot to talk about today. I do see MBOT up today. I've heard of that one before, and I'm seeing GDTC as one of the top movers in the pre-market. And there's another one up 231% RHE. Ooh. A lot of action going on. This Regional Health Properties name just completely on a liftoff. Just lifted off again off the $5 up to the 560s. Regional Health Properties just strong as ever, guys. We'll take a look at that action. Look at that bad boy making a big move there. All right, let's go to today's Sunrise Report. We got a lot to take a look at here, including that Fubo story. So let's kick things off. Of course, you guys know where you're at. It's the Sunrise Report, and this is what stocks are moving and why. All right, team, let's go ahead. Let's take a look here. We'll first start off with just some conversation of the overall market, right? What's going on right now? Well, let's just talk about first that what happened, right? Well, it was a little bit of a shaky week last week with signs of the potential Santa Claus rally coming to an end, right? But now this week, all eyes are open to earnings that start to kick things off. We'll get Constellation Brands, Walgreens Boots Alliance, and Delta Airlines for critical economic insight, especially that Delta Airlines, as the airlines have been as hot as ever to take a look at. And then we got to keep an eye on the spotlight, right? What's the spotlight here? It remains on key labor market and bond yield data as traders anticipate a pivotal Fed decision. Right, Callie Cox. I know Callie very well. She used to live out there in North Carolina, so I wish her the best. Chief market strategist at Ritz Wealth, right, management. She highlighted the importance of labor data and bond market movement. So watch to see what happens later this week. We have the JOLTS data that comes in on Tuesday. This is, of course, going to be gauging the job openings and the labor market strength. You got ADP that comes in on Wednesday, a sneak peek into the private payroll trends, right? And then on Friday, we get the crucial report, the indicator, December's jobs report ahead of the Fed meeting. This is going to be vital to determining whether the Fed want to cut or not cut, right? We're starting to see unemployment tweak up, but that's not a sign of concern unless it's a big spike. That's what I would say. 10-year yield at 4.6 is also a critical benchmark for bond investors. We'll see what happens there. Let's kick things over now and talk a little bit about what's going on in some upgrade action, as I'm seeing Microsoft get a little bit of an upgrade. Let's take a look at Microsoft and how the action has been trading. Microsoft is up there to 427, has been hot. Let's take a look at the daily. The daily got all the way up there to almost 460, pulled back, but now we're starting to hold in a really important area, right? I can draw this up there, and you can see how it's holding on to that bottom end. Let's see if we can start to turn back above the 9 EMA around the 428.50s and actually go a little bit higher. Now, Bernstein Mark Monitor raised Microsoft price target to 516, hinting at 21.9% upside. That's pretty big. 516, guys. So 516 is all the way up there, higher than, of course, the high right now. We'll see if that can actually happen. But he predicts a diminishing investor concern about capital expenditures, setting the stage for further growth. We'll see if it's able to go ahead and keep pushing. Microsoft is expanding its impressive record of 12 winning years out of the last 13. So, hey, not a bad bet in Microsoft, right? Let's keep talking about some chip makers as they rallied off of Foxconn's record-breaking Q4 revenue. So Foxconn definitely getting that big move there. We'll see what happens there in Foxconn if it can continue to push. But there's some other names that definitely can watch there. Look how we talked about this. I talked about how on just a week or two ago, by December, by Christmas, I talked about how the selling seemed to have stopped in NVIDIA and the profit taking was done. And I felt that this was going to be a company that they would come stepping right back in the beginning of the year. And what has happened? Well, the beginning of the year came, and this is exactly what has happened. NVIDIA almost back to all-time highs, and I think it continues to push. Another one to watch, of course, AMD. We talked about how there was so many gurus and furus starting to line into AMD. And I talked about how maybe just waiting for one more dip would be the moment. I think 120 hard support now. Now you got to look for that 132 rip. And we're looking pretty good here at AMD for it to start going. Take a look at the MACD. MACD starting to cross over, looking really good there. Take a look at the RSI. Also looking really good. And then I take a look at the volume that has come in on this recent dip. Really good volume. All things pointing towards the upside on AMD. Now, let's just see what happens in the price action. Micron Technology, another one that's doing well and starting to clear the gap back. So we'll see if it's able to fill that gap. Coming back here towards 103 or 100 would definitely be a close watch. AVGO, of course, this one already hot, holding the 9 EMA on pullbacks. Very vital for Broadcom's rally. We'll see if it can keep pushing. And of course, just the semiconductor ETF giving a nice little breakout opportunity. Now I think we got to continue to watch this. A move above this can really start getting things going. 262 going into the gap that's above it, right? It hasn't come back into this space since a long time, since pretty much August of last year. So I think this is where we're heading right now, and it's looking strong in the semiconductor space. So I know there was a lot of bearishness last week, but I'm not feeling so bearish today. Let's go and look at American Airlines as it's lifting higher, already getting a nice little raise here as shares soar 4% after TD Cowen upgraded it to a buy with price target, implying a 47% upside. So 47%, no gimmick, right? We're talking essentially, you could say up towards like 32, 30s. So we'll see what happens there. 40% upside, not 100%. So it's going to be around, you're talking somewhere around, let's say 24, 25, right? Let's see if it can get back up there. That was the height in kind of 2021. I think what's also going to help this is cheaper crude prices, of course, will definitely help American Airlines, but I'll be watching how this affects Love and others, right? Love is one that still hasn't really taken off. I still think it has the opportunity to. We'll find out. Traders, it's good to see you guys out there. What's going on? Kevin, good morning to you guys. Good morning, CA. Hey, it's good to see everybody out there. And if you're new to the show for any reason, say hello. I hope see some new faces out there. And like always, guys, if you guys can do us a favor, hit that share button below, the like button to let us know that you enjoy the stream, and the share button to share it with other traders so they can join and trade with us every single morning. There's Par. It's good to see you in the morning. Morning list coming in. Yeah, definitely. It's good to see you. What's going on? How we doing? It's definitely good to see some new faces. I love to see it out there and getting ready for the market. Let's continue with the sunrise report. We got Fubo jumping 60%. Man, this is one that I started talking about, guys. And how do I know? Because I drew lines. Created this on December 9th. I was looking for this trend line to start to break. It was looking good. That was right here. It pulled back and reloaded. Now we really get things going. It's at 306. Wow, man, I've been missing this 50-cent breakout there in Fubo. A little part of me wants to scout Fubo right now. I'm missing this move talking about it. I'll tell you one thing. Big rip there for Fubo. And I wonder how Disney's trading off of this, because this is with Disney, right? As it reports for a venture with Disney to merge live TV business, positioning as the second largest digital pay TV provider after YouTube TV. Of course, they're going to own majority of it. They're going to own 70% of it. But I think this is a good move because you already had a really good move into sports because Disney has ESPN. Fubo was one of the kind of the best TV places for sports. And now you're getting a big lift here. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to actually reach out to Fubo. I actually know their PR team very well. I've had multiple interviews with them. So I'll be looking to see if we can have an interview with Fubo TV right here. All right, it's good to see you guys out there. Good morning to you guys. Let's keep it going. It's the Sunrise Report. We're talking a little Fubo. Let's go to Boeing right here as we're already talking some takeoff. Let's talk about a little bit of some Boeing action. Getting a big lift this morning, 2% pre-market after Barclays upgrading and citing optimism around strong deliveries and production for 2025. Of course, when stories get really bad, sometimes things start to turn around. And I've been seeing some turnaround there in Boeing. The only question is, will we hear some bad news about the planes that went down? That's the only concern that I would have with Boeing. We'll see what happens there. Let's go to one last one here on an upgrade action. Let's go to Citigroup. Citigroup here getting a little lift there now towards 72.10. And I'd continue to watch the financial space as that's a space that I was looking to see if it get hot again. It's up 2% after Barclays upgrading, highlighting improved revenue growth and positive operating leverage. So Citigroup getting a nice little lift there. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Plug Power, talk a little green energy. A lot of news to go through here, so I'm going to keep it running, guys. It's about 8:50. We're almost at 9 a.m. getting ready toward the trading hour, and keep it going in the chat. If you guys got a stock you guys want to take a look at, or maybe a catalyst, let me know. We'll watch it. Plug Power is here. It's climbing 6% pre-market, adding to Friday's 13% rally after the U.S. Treasury finalized tax credit rules for hydrogen production. This is actually really important, guys, because believe it or not, I saw a lot of hydrogen tanks right by my hotel. Yes, guys, I should have taken a picture of it. But what were these hydrogen trucks for? They were for the rockets, man. All those rockets going up. I could see that hydrogen tanks right there. So I think we got to continue to watch this, though. This is also small cap January effect playing into it, and you're seeing a nice little rally. Now the only question is, can it continue? You got Plug Power. You also got FSIL to keep a watch on. They're both going to trade side by side. So you got to know your relationships, and it's something definitely to take a look at. All right, we'll see what happens on that. But definitely FSIL and Plug. Keep your watch on. So maybe some hydrogen play. All right, let's go to Chewy as it's gaining 4% off of an upgrade there. I'm not the biggest fan of this one right now, but it's been holding on. I mean, if you take a look at it, it's slowly but surely continuing to climb. So Chewy increased there. It got an upgrade, noting its increased advertising is an opportunistic move, not a sign of declining pet spending. I would disagree with this, but I do see that pet spending has gotten higher and higher, and the costs have gotten higher and higher. But what you see there, there's just so many opportunities to go to other places, not just Chewy. Xpeng rose 4% after the Chinese EV maker expanded its partnership with Volkswagen, sharing charging networks in China. So Volkswagen's European shares rallied 5%. Let's go to Xpeng here. You can see it's trying to make that move back above the kind of the 1350 area. We'll see if it starts to make the move there. It has potential, but I don't know. I have to continue to watch to see how China's doing. FXI setting up, I feel like, for the move. Let's see if we get a big breakout in these China names. We'll find out. Last thing touching here, MSTR getting a little bit of a lift there after announcing its plans to raise $2 billion in preferred stock to acquire what? More Bitcoin, of course. So we'll keep a watch to see what happens there on MSTR and other names. So definitely a crypto update. Both Bitcoin and Ether dropped slightly, down less than 1% Sunday night after gaining approximately 4% last week. That's going to do it for our Sunrise Report today. Like always, guys, you guys can find this on our Discord every single day. So if you're not following our Discord or not a part of that community, you're missing out. And like always, our playbook is out on Twitter, on X every single day to give you guys insights into what I'm looking into the market. But like always, learning about the process of setting a playbook for yourself. All right, let's get right to the show. Let's get to the trading action. It's TTP Live, and I'm ready to kick things off. And I'll tell you guys the truth. I have a donut that I still got to eat, guys. It's all about the Krispy Kreme today, guys. A little Krispy Kreme action. Can't go wrong, guys. Let's get this glaze and this market going. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. Let's go, traders. Let's go. Let's get after it. And I'll tell you what, that donut, that was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I just stuffed my mouth a little bit. But hey, hit the like out there, guys. Can you let us know about some screeners? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, what would you like to know about screeners, right? There it goes. I was wondering why I wouldn't show it up there. There it is. Can you let us know about some screeners? Yeah, what are you looking for on screeners, right? Of course, I use Benzinga Pro for one of my screeners, and I'll show you what I use for fast moves. This is for penny stocks or small cap names that are moving fast, right? What do you see here? This is the important thing. So you got the change percentage from the pre-market. So, of course, I'm looking at that, but I'm looking at what's changed in percentage-wise in the last 5 minutes and then 15 minutes. A lot of times I set myself some standard rules, and I'll show you guys exactly what those are. So what I try to do there, and you guys can use Benzinga or different scanners, right, to do this. We have different partners that you can do this with. And what I'm looking at is for at least the change percentage in the last 5 minutes to be up 5% and the change in the 15 minutes to be up about like 15%. And why am I looking at that is because I want to see a quick move starting, and then I can look for some pullbacks to jump on the party. So Fubo right now, you see CDIO, and I'm not just looking at percentage change, right? Because I could just do this, right, and go to the top of the list. But then this tells me what? It doesn't tell me too much. I'm looking more at the change in the 5 minutes. What's moving now? Because that's what I want to catch. Look at Fubo up about 12%, and it's up to 384. Could keep going. We'll see what happens there in Fubo and different plays. But if you want some scanner action, all you got to do is let me know. What are you looking for? All right, like always, definitely take a look at it, right? And scanners are all about just determining what you're looking for. Ask yourself, what are you really looking for? Are you looking for a stock that's moving now? Are you looking for some relative strength, right? There's sometimes where I'm going through, let's say, some market action, right? And I'm looking to see, what do I look at? What do I look at right now? Well, you can take a look like this, right? We can take a look into different action into the markets just by relative strength, right? I always have RSI available to me, and I'm always looking into seeing what stocks are leading there, right? And of course, Fubo with an 88 RSI just shows you how strong that move is right now. But like always, guys, the new year sometimes brings some new opportunities, guys. So I do want to tell you guys that this family is just about to get even better, right? So one of the things that we've been trying to do is, of course, grow the show here. And one of the number one ways that you guys can help us grow the show is, like always, hitting that share button and letting other traders know. But one of the things that we wanted to do here at TTP is really take it to the next level and bring on more traders. So I do want to give you guys a warm welcome, and I want you guys all in the chat to go bananas out there. Let everybody know we got a new trader that's going to be joining us on a daily basis. And this is what it's all about, guys, trying to give back to you guys. And the number one thing that I believe in, and you guys have heard me mention this plenty of times before, is paying it forward. Right? Paying it forward for other traders, right? The only thing that we can do as traders a lot of the times is, learn. But while we're doing that learning, the number one thing that I have found that has given back to me is teaching others, right? Teaching others that path forward, right? Trying to help them bend that learning curve so they can learn the markets faster than it took me, right? Because there was traders back then that helped me learn the markets, right? So let's go ahead. Let's give a warm welcome to the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Nauss, CMT. Welcome to the show, my friend, and welcome to the team, man.
Oh, I'm super glad to be here. That was just an amazing intro. I'll take that all day long.
It's the real one, right? You know, one thing I say this often, man, and I've said this before. I've mentioned your name with this, and one of the things I believe is that a lot of times in the financial space, there's a lot of like animosity between different people, right?
Unfortunately,
you know, oh, that guy has 70,000 followers and I only have 68,000. I can't like that guy, right? No, that's not the way I believe things. I really believe in that, looking around and finding those traders that are trying to make this more of a business-like approach and are going to be stepping up their level with experience and going to be here for the long run. So I've been following Michael for a long time, guys, and I will tell you guys that there's a reason why. And you guys will see that I don't follow many, right? The reason why? I'm trying to follow the best, the guys that are going to grow with me. And I see them in the industry and continuing to grow. So those are the guys that I want to involve myself with, so that you guys just got access to one of the brilliant minds that I follow, guys. So, hey, thank you for coming on, Michael. Looking forward to having you. And you see what he has next to his name there, right? What I'm working on, that CMT life. So I truly appreciate you coming on, man. I couldn't be happier to have you on the team.
Yeah, I can't wait to get you into the club, right? So we can have all our weird meetings together. But again, I greatly appreciate that. I got to deflate my head a little bit before we get started. But maybe I'll take a second to introduce myself. Maybe some of the folks don't know who I am. I'm a CMT. I'm generally focused on the longer term part of the market, but one thing that I love about Trade the Pool, and one thing that I want to get into myself, is shorter term trading, where I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially with a place like Trade the Pool, where you can put up a very little bit amount of money. And if you pass a challenge, you can have access to a lot of firm capital. It's one of those, why not, right? If I can figure out a way to do this. So it's going to be interesting. You guys get to come along in my journey of someone who's been around the market. I started trading in 2006. So I've been around for a long time. I've worked for prop firms. I worked for hedge funds. I've been to, all the fancy places, but kind of trying to hone one of my weaknesses. And I think that's going to be really cool to see. So I approach the market from a technical and a quantitative way. And we've been talking a little bit in kind of the company room there of some strategies that I've been working on. So I'm excited for the market to open and I can start to share those with you. But yeah, I back test things. I come up with kind of quantitative strategies and all of that. And then I just wait for those things to alert me. And then I do some technical analysis from there. So it'll be great to get Mitch's point of view when these start to come through. I can give you some symbols and maybe you take a look at it and tell me what you think as well.
Looking forward to it. And I agree with you. One of the things is in short-term tradings, I feel like it's all about the ups and downs, learning how to hit the brake pedal and the gas pedal when needed, right? Because with short-term trading, that's the number one thing that's easy, at least just step on that gas pedal the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think it's about understanding the waves of trading, just like our equity wave, right?
Yeah.
And minimize those down waves and just ride those waves up. Really, when we get into that thriving stage and start to make some real money, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for.
It's it's the one of the most common phrases I remember out there when I was trading at the prop firms and with the hedge funds and everything. They say, listen, anyone can make money. It's the guys who keep it, right? That's the big thing, right? Anyone can come in. I've said it a few times kind of jokingly, but I could come in, I could slam my head on a keyboard and make a bunch of money. Doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. Doesn't mean it's gonna make me money in the long run. So yeah, it's dealing with that randomness that exists within trading, and having the ability to say, hey, I need to be able to smooth these out. I need to know when to hit the gas and the brake. So generally, most of my issue when it came to day trading is just the speed of it, right? I'm more of a, I don't know if you ever read Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. If you haven't, definitely check it out. But yeah, I'm more of a kind of analytical guy, and day trading sometimes has a lot of, you got to analyze things quickly and make decisions quickly. So it's going to be interesting again for the audience, is where I'm trying to make up for that is with these algorithms where everything's kind of planned out. I have everything kind of set up in a screen that's off screen here. And if and when some of the alerts come through, then I'll take trades. So yeah, I'm excited.
Looking forward to it, guys. And like always, if you guys have questions for Michael, keep dropping them up in the chat. I'll try to catch them from time to time. We'll bring them into it. And like always, you guys will learn from different approaches, and that's what it's all about, right? Is finding out where the strengths and weaknesses that you can apply to your own trading, right? That's what I always say. Whenever you see any trader out there that's having success, find the strength, right? What is he good at? What is he bad at, right? Maybe I don't want that, but maybe it can help me improve what I'm bad at. And then you can find the strengths. The strengths are what you really want to hold on to, because you can just get that little piece. Maybe you're more analytical. Maybe you're fast paced, right? But all these things are what really take your step by approach to that next level. Let's get into the markets. Let's take a look at how you're seeing things right now, Michael. I've taken a look already a little bit into the market. I'm going to bring up your screen. And like always, feel free to bring up your screen at any moment. I don't know if you have the ads yet on the bottom, the ability, but I'll definitely move things in and out for us. If at any point you want to put up your screen, just give me a holler. We'll just keep things going.
Sure thing. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll just make that. I think that's good like that. Yeah, so right off the bat, this is one of the first things I look at every day. So this is just a heat map that I have within TrendSpider, which is, again, a partner of Trade the Pool. And it's just all of my symbols. So I just fed it my list of ETFs, and these are the ETFs I go through every night. And sometimes you can kind of generate themes. You can say, hey, what's going on in the market here, just based off of something like this. Right off the bat, you see UNG, natural gas. WGMI is Bitcoin, NLR is nuclear and nuclear related things. So those are kind of your top three names that are moving today. So my focus today, kind of on the shorter term, or sorry, on the longer term basis, so something I'm going to take my long term account, is this natural gas. So this orange line right here is 200-day moving average on natural gas, and I have not seen a security respect this 200-day moving average as well as natural gas is respecting this in years. It's been crazy, right? A little bounce here, and then some rejection right here, and then ever since we broke down in natural gas, every time we hit the 200-day moving average, sellers come in aggressively until just a couple days ago, right? We broke that 200-day moving average. We held significantly above it. We actually came down to do the retest, and you always love that. You love to see the retest from the other side. It just shows that, yes, there are buyers that are kind of sad that they missed the boat. You get that retest from the other side, and now this is today's candle. If we zoom in, this is today's, I'll switch to candles. I know some people like candles better. This is today's candle right here, where we're starting to gap up, and we're holding really, really strong when it comes to the move that we had there. So if we're able to hold this on natural gas today, this is definitely one that I want to add to my longer term portfolio, just because even if we get a bounce to recover some of this sell off, right, it's like you're talking a double, right? Even if it's just a little bit. Hard line in the sand, I think, is the 200-day moving average. If we get another close below the 200-day moving average, I think that's probably time to go. So, that's, say I'm in at 18, stops at 15, risking $3. If I'm right, maybe I make 10 or 20. It's a 3 to 6 risk reward. And that's just how I think about things, right? I know I'm going to be right roughly half the time throughout my entire life. So the goal is, can I make twice as much when I'm right as I lose when I'm wrong? And if I can do that and be right half the time, then over the long run, I'll do okay.
Love that. I always talk about it. I even go even lower. I'm like, I don't even need to flip the coin. I need
Yeah.
that 40%. Even 40% would make me fine. And I think that's about finding what works for your personality, right?
Yeah.
There's some traders that just can't take many losses, right? And
Mhm.
that's one of the tough ones, right? And when you need to be like maybe 90 or 80% accurate just to get a little bit into the green, it's tough. It's
It
tough on
is.
those traders. I know I can't do that. I can't be worried about being 90% accurate because my mind just starts getting really risk adverse like.
Mhm.
And then when I get into that mentality, it's just I don't even want to take trades. I end up just being stuck.
Yeah.
And that's why I try my best to think about trades in a way where I always say that let's not let one trade break us and let's not let one trade make us either. Because I like to say both sides of that too, because it just controls you, right? You don't need to make all your money in one trade. Definitely don't want to lose all your money in one trade either, right? So that
Um,
that's one of the ways to get it started, right?
100% agree, and I actually go kind of one step further with that, where my whole thing as a trader is my focus is multi-systems, right? That's what I believe that's and as a systems trader,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'm going to be here every day, so we'll get into that more as time goes on. Is that the more systems you can trade, the more time frames you can trade, the more ideas you can do. Then the better off you'll be overall, right? So I that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in getting into the day trading side of things, because I myself, as I mentioned, I'm a swing trader to longer term trader, and that works for me and that works great, but not all the time, right? If the market's not doing anything, if the market's messy, if we get into another bear market, I'll tell you, as a long only swing trader, 2021 20 or 2022 2023, that wasn't a lot of fun. It's it was, I didn't get killed, but it just wasn't fun, right? I wasn't making a whole lot of money. So that's the idea between multiple systems. And again, another thing that I really love about Trade the Pool is there's day trading accounts and swing trading accounts, and I'm going to start trying to do both those, because the hope is that when one of those is not working, the other one is. So hopefully, if your day trading is, or if there's nothing to do from the swing trading point of view, especially, I don't know if you were trading through COVID, but I just completely became even myself, who's not a good day trader, I wasn't swinging anything through that time. And those were some of the best day trading times ever. And same with the great financial to 2008. I was trading through that, and I remember it was amazing. So, there's times where everything works. So yeah, you want to make sure that you've got a little bit of everything to try to make it so that something's always moving, right?
Definitely. We'll talk more about that. Of course, we always talk about that as being the tools in the tool belt, right? You can't just have one tool, right? Unfortunately, that doesn't get the job done sometimes. And if you do have it, you got to be very patient with that tool. If
Yeah.
it's only one, right? That's the hard part. All right, guys, we'll get into some more action. We'll take a look at how the market's moving right now. I'm checking Fubo, and I don't know if you heard that story today, but combining with Disney. And so Fubo TV. Essentially trying to take Hulu TV and combine those, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
create a more higher level competition to YouTube, right? YouTube TV has really kind of taken a big step up. And so I think that they just found a way to get some subscribers, right? Because that's what they needed. And maybe access to some more sports networks that they'll be able to get with now Hulu TV Plus.
Hmm.
So I'd look forward to seeing they can adjust that, because the cost of Hulu TV Plus it's pretty expensive. So we'll see what happens with that. But they definitely went for that subscriber basis, and it
Well,
was
and hey,
funny
I'm
because I was
Canadian,
talking
so
about that.
whatever prices you're talking about, you got to add 40% at this point too, with the dollar conversion. So I
Oof.
hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Well, so we'll see what happens there with Fubo if it can continue making moves. It's up 208%. I think
Hmm.
from the open there or the closing action. I mean, that's a crazy move. This thing almost got to 5 this morning. We'll see if it does do a little bit of a pullback, and if it's a tradable trade now. At this point, I feel like the move's already done, especially with these types of headlines. A lot of times, probably a pre-market trade here. Definitely will need some type of pullback. That thing is it's just topping, hitting those Bollinger Bands on the one. So we'll see what happens there with Fubo. But taking a look to see really what I think is important today is continuing to see if the market continues with kind of the strength that I'm seeing in some of the semiconductors. Of course, Foxconn kind of helping things out here, but this is pretty good strength here that I'm seeing in NVIDIA. And I think that this was more having to do with profit taking in December and then reestablished positions coming back in at the beginning of the year. Is that kind of what you're seeing in technology, Michael? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, exactly. Same kind of thing. So if I just click, perfect. Oh, that does work.
Boom.
Cool.
Just like that.
Yes. So this is an ETF I love. It's a newer ETF, but it's just MAGS, and this is the Magnificent Seven. So it
I
just
like it.
pulls. The S&P 500 is like 40%. The Mag 7 anyway. MAGS is just straight Mag 7 ETF. And again, this candle that we're seeing right now, it's a daily chart, but this is the pre-market action here, and a nice gap up. And not only a nice gap up, it's been continuing all morning. So yeah, it's showing some strength. We had a little bit of pullback in the Mag 7. It's going to push higher. This chart right now, with how much of a weighting these things have in the overall market, this is going to be everything, right? So this is one of the first charts that I look at, because if this is falling, it doesn't mean maybe the IWM, maybe some small caps are doing well, but when it comes to the S&P 500, the overall market, you're going to see it here. So for those who don't know, the Mag 7 is just the big guys, right? It's in every name that you know and probably traded before, right? Your Apples, your Nvidias, your Amazons, Teslas, all that kind of stuff. And with Tesla having a pretty bad day, or a little pullback the last 4 or 5 days, it's putting in some strength. It's continuing today. So I love to see this, because again, as technicians, what we're trying to do is we're just trying to gauge market sentiment, right? Is everyone happy? Is everyone sad? What's going on here? And we're seeing a dip, and we're seeing this dip get bought kind of aggressively here. So that means that people just were waiting. They're waiting for money on the sidelines. Like you mentioned, the new year is very important, not just because it's a random day on the calendar, but tax, right? Taxes, right? Death and taxes. So those are the only two things that we got it here. So now that we're getting this new year and we're getting this tax rotation, we want to see if buyers come in, because this is how a lot of these institutions, again, I mentioned I worked in the hedge fund space for 10 years. They spend a lot of their time right now in January trying to make bets for what's going to be the trade for the year. So we need to focus on where that money's flowing. And then, we'll chat in a second about the first 5-day indicator. I can actually find that and bring that up. I think that'll be really interesting, because we're on day 3 of trading for this year.
Yeah, I believe that.
So yeah,
it's kind of hard with the days in between, right?
I know everything's crazy, but for those who don't know, there's a very common indicator. The first 5 days, and this is from Stock Traders Almanac. I actually have.
Yeah, man.
I've been reading it. You got.
You got your 2025.
Oh, Mitch.
Come on, man. Come on. You guys gotta have the good stuff. The tools, guys. The tools.
See, that was a bonding moment.
Jeffrey Hirsch, man. We gotta bring him on. I'll reach out to him, man. That's one thing we're gonna do a lot of, guys. Look forward to doing more of that. I know Michael has a lot of friends in the finance space. I have a lot of friends in the finance space. Yep. We're gonna do a lot more interviewing so that you guys can learn from the best. Really, that's what it's all about. So look forward to that, guys. And definitely, if you don't have your Stock Almanac, get it now, guys. Mm-hmm. Get it now.
So yeah, that's they've been doing this since I think 50 years plus, the Stock Traders Almanac,
and it's awesome. It's really awesome, right? Like I mean, the amount of information they're able to put in there, and that you can actually consume it, right? Because sometimes with so many statistics, it can get a little overwhelming. But I think they do a great job. But yeah. So like you mentioned it, the first 5 days really are the important, right? And we've gone through some of the beginning. And I always feel like this is the way the market loves to do it, right? I mean, the market doesn't just make it easy, right? No. And that's what I think sometimes traders forget. They start thinking that things are easy, and that's really when the market will correct you, right? And so now I think we're starting to see this, you got this little rut, right? The Santa Claus rally wasn't really a rally. Mm-hmm. And you're getting some traders to start getting concerned about unemployment data. Really, underneath the hood, things are looking good. And I think that you got to continue to, unless we start to see some real inflation show or some real pressure on that unemployment, I'm not really downside intended. And normally I'm the bear. So if I'm saying this, that shows me more and more that there's some real good upside potential here. I think you just have to be in the right area. It's a
Yeah.
stock picker's market right now. And I think that that's what you got to be looking for. I see you're seeing the SPY right here. Is you seeing a little bit of like a head and shoulders there, or what are we seeing here?
Well, and maybe, right? So yeah, we were talking about that first 5 days. That's an 83% accuracy, and it essentially just means if we're up for the first 5 days, not only is there an 83% chance that the market's higher on the year, it's
Mhm.
like 50% more gain than a normal year, right? A normal year where we're flat to maybe down. So not only is it generally up, it's up big. Again, 83% means 15% of the times it's wrong. But hey, I'll take those stats any day, all day. So the reason I got the head and shoulders kind of drawn in here is my favorite head and shoulders are ones that don't turn out to be a top, right? Because everybody in the world looks at this and says, okay, this is the death nail. When you see the head and shoulders, you short, away you go. The best head and shoulders in the world is that, if we end up breaking out here, then it's everybody who has been shorting based off this pattern. And you mentioned the news and, chasing this.
Yep.
This was the massive FOMC candle right here. All these bad things that occur, they're caught offside, right? And everyone talks about short squeeze, but one thing that I like that I'm bringing in here is my experience in the institutional and the hedge fund space. It's not just short squeeze. I guarantee you there was a lot of people who lost clients as a hedge fund manager not because they lost money last year, because they didn't do as much as the market. The market absolutely ripped. So what clients are always looking at and saying, well, why am I paying you 2 and 20 when I can buy an ETF, right? So what happens is if hedge fund managers are worried that the market's going to rip, they will just pile into everything they see and kind of buy aggressively. So if I'm a fund manager and I was cautious based off of, the FOMC, the head and shoulders, all these kind of things, and I'm wrong, I am buying things aggressively, because if I have one more year of underperformance, I'm going to be out. So it's going to be very interesting to see. So I'm watching this high, which is around 600 on the SPY, very, very closely. We get through that, I think we hit new all-time highs, and we're off to the races a bit.
Yeah, and I think that everyone was trying to play a little guessing work here, right? But what really Trump's going to do and what's going to happen, right? Especially on
Yeah.
the fiscal policy side of things. We've heard a lot of monetary talk, but on the fiscal side of things is where I think the focus should be right now. And I had a professor really when I was young in finance, right, tell me that those are the two things you need to study very closely. If you want to really gain an edge, understanding fiscal policy and monetary policy is how the markets work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point, monetary policy is waiting on fiscal policy. So
Yeah.
I think that that's what we need to be watching, right? What's going to come out of the White House, and will it actually have inflationary pressure, right? There's one thing to talk about it. There's a whole other thing of it actually showing up, right? So it's talk, show up, and then come into the markets a lot of the times. It's not just talk and it's in the markets, right? So I think at this point, there's a lot of concern for potentially what could come. But that's like, looking forward, right? It doesn't necessarily give us the results. I
Mm-hmm.
think that I have a tendency of leaning towards more show me that inflation's coming back first, right? As much as, yeah, I do see inflation around, I think that Trump's going to make some moves, but he's also thinking about that too, right? I don't think he's just being just like open to it. And I think that one thing that you're showing right now that's going to be very important, right, is oil, right?
Yep.
And how that affects deflationary pressures, right? And so I think that we've been looking at that and we've been seeing kind of the airlines shooting up, cruise lines
Mm-hmm.
doing better. Big part of that, I think, has to do with crude oil coming down and affecting some inflationary pressures. If I look at basic materials and things like that, steel's getting destroyed right now and certain things like that. So there's some deflationary pressures out there
Mm-hmm.
that are essentially holding back that inflation concern. So in this case, I think that leans more to the bullish side. What do you see, Michael?
Yeah, 100%. I think the beauty of what we do in the markets is we can be early to seeing the inflation. I think you'll see, right, the inflation. You'll be able to watch it in in real time. And just like you mentioned, bring up the commodity. A great ETF for that is just DBC. This is Invesco's commodity tracking. So this is going to have, names like wheat and steel and all of these different names. And if we're going to start seeing inflation kick up again, I think you're going to start to see it in these commodities ETFs. They're going to start to push higher, where you're not going to just be surprised. You're not going to wake up one day and say, oh, inflation's through the roof. If oil is making new lows and this DVC is breaking down out of this base instead of up, I think, again, you'll see, because when this was happening, this 2021 to 2022 area, this massive uptrend was going on. This is when the inflation was going on. So we were seeing this occur. And then ever since then, when inflation's been cooling, this has been dying off. I think another one to watch is just gold. Right. And that's going to tell you if people really start to get worried about inflation again. I think this thing's going to continue to rip. And right now it's not. It's been a nice, solid uptrend, but nothing crazy, nothing ripping kind of one way or the other. Just some kind of sideways consolidation going on here. So you're right. I think everyone's waiting. I'm Canadian. I don't understand your guys' politics fully, but it's the 20th, I think, is day one for that's when the job starts. So
the actual he's already working on things, but I think that's definitely what you got to be looking for. And I think that one of the things is maybe in this case not being so let's say leaning towards getting ahead of things versus waiting for it to happen. Because at the end of the day, there's one thing that I know Trump does very well, which is business. And he's going to be focused on business first. It's how to make money is first, right? That's the song, right? It's just how the man works. And I think that's what he's focused on in the first month is how can I create economic stimulus essentially to then bring in different programs that could bring that inflation. But the truth is we need to kind of boost the economy first. Then we can go and do things that could potentially hit the economy, right? So I think that with that mentality, I'm more into, okay, first I see the gas pedal on. And so if the gas pedal is going to be on, I don't want to miss these situations. Now let's talk a little bit more. And I like, that's the kind of the macro situation too, Michael. I like to also focus a lot on themes of the market, right? Kind of thematic style trading, right? So right now, one of the biggest themes right now has lately been the quantum moves, right? The QUBT, the IonQ, things like that, right? These are still holding on. The craziest part is, look at the move in IonQ in 3 days, right? Right back to the top, right? So you still got these plays that are out there. You got the smaller plays, of course, to continue to watch it. They're kind of more the lagging style plays. We'll look to see if they get hot again. But I've been watching also another space that we didn't talk about last week too much is the robotic space getting hot, like this rich tech robotic and serve. So I think that's another kind of theme that you look for in 2025. I'm all about looking into themes and understanding that, because I feel like that's really where retail traders can have edge a lot of the times, and we can kind of catch moves before they happen. So I think that one of the ones that I talked about for today that I'm just watching into the year is 3D printing. It's a theme that kind of went away for a long time, but I think if for some reason in 2025, it can come hot again. There's a couple of things that are helping this is that 3D printers aren't as expensive as they used to be, and they're definitely getting more advanced. Right now, you're seeing more manufacturing being used by them, and you're seeing more and more things being printed out. Also, the actual underlining asset, the filament needed for 3D printing was super expensive. That's coming down. The prices are coming down. So I think you're going to see more and more use of this. I just is something as to kind of watch here, right? I always like to bring you guys themes before they get hot, like we brought the nuclear theme before it got hot, right? We were talking about SMR and NNE way before the move started happening. Back in September and October, we were looking at that. And now we're seeing NNE start to make the move again. I'm watching for these. I really like these. I like the GEV this year. I'm watching this one as being the leader in this space, right? Of course, in the nuclear space, it's not just SMR and NNE, GEV, big one, Vernova, right? And what I've seen is that the institutional plays are all over this one. It's a big reason also why you don't see much weakness in that chart, right? Not much weakness at all in that chart. If anything, just a little sideways consolidation that just started to resolve to the upside. So I'll be watching that space and also watching to see if uranium starts to get hot, right? So that's another theme to keep an eye out for, guys. We'll see what happens here. We got about 3 minutes for the bell, but definitely uranium is one area that you can kind of watch. The URA, that's an ETF. You can look at like certain names like UEC, right? I'd be kind of keeping an eye on that relationship to kind of catch that theme. Another theme that I've been talking about is autonomous. Mobilize, one of these trending stocks that I like here. This is kind of more of my swing trade type of stock, but I like the way that it's holding the trend. It's holding really well. And I think this is all about deregulation or no regulation in autonomous that's coming forward and going to be moving fast. That's why I think Tesla's getting the lift. I think it has nothing to do with really robo-taxi. It's just more the software itself. If it's going to get pushed through with kind of no big eyes watching the regulation on it, that's what I think is a big potential driver for other companies too. You got Mobileye, you have AUR, Aurora Innovation. There's some other names too, but I'm watching that. Of course, the battery space, QuantumScape is one that I'm watching in QS. It's already getting the lift. We talked about it this morning before on the playbook, but it's already getting a lift from 6 to 636. Already a nice little 4% little lift there in the pre-market. Just themes that I'm seeing in the market. Any other theme maybe that you're looking at, Michael? What are you seeing out there?
Well, it's funny. I was actually looking at the swing trading algorithms and what they output. So just to summarize quickly, they shoot out a bunch of things on the weekend. I run them on the weekend. It crunches all the numbers through the week. And GEV is actually one of the top ones for a pullback. So I know you're probably looking, if you're long this, you probably don't want to hear a pullback, but just right in this zone right here. So, this is a simple strategy. It's looking for kind of the strongest names out there, which you zoomed out. You show that this is an insanely strong name. And then it ranks the stocks by how strong they were last week. And then some machine learning and fancy stuff tries to snag a place that'd be a good place for a pullback, and that's just right halfway through this candle right here. So that's just kind of interesting. I love when you were going through those. I was going through this list as well and showing that was interesting. One theme that I'm interested in as well, and a lot of these came through the mean reversion system that I have. So it's looking for, again, strong names, never looking at junk, right? You don't want to do mean reversion on junk. You want to do mean reversion on stronger names. A lot of healthcare is very interesting. So HCA, all that. I don't know if these got beaten up because, again, I avoid your guys' politics. I don't know if it got beaten up because of the election or what. Yeah. But if you look at some of these names,
let's just keep it simple. Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, if you look at some of these names, like if you look at HCA and then you just open up like a stochastics or something on it, you can see how oversold this has been for so long on a very, very strong name. So these are kind of good little swing trading picks that I like, just because, again, you're not trying to marry these things. You're not hoping they go to all-time highs or anything. You're just looking to say, hey, this is HCA Healthcare. It's a massive company. It's a very strong name. And it just got shellacked. It's, from 420 down to $300 in a matter of weeks. That's a pretty big move. So maybe if I can find kind of a daily pattern or even an intraday pattern on a 30-minute chart or something that looks good, I can pick up some of these HCAs. And the other ones, CBT, it's another healthcare corporation, same kind of thing, right? From $120 down to 88. Maybe it's time to look at these a little bit. Another one that came through that I wanted to talk about a little bit, but it might be a little bit scary, is this Carvana. It came through the
I like to hear that.
Buy.
And so one of my biggest trades, Michael, that I've been talking about, it's not Carvana, but CarMax. So KMX. Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason why is, of course, I feel like Carvana is the leader in this space, but I feel that used cars will become a new normal in 2025. Why? Just the overall price tag of vehicles now. People are
insane. Yeah.
They're not ready till they go to the car dealership and then they see it and they're like, what?
Yeah.
So this car cost me a house?
Oh no, I've got two little ones. and now 2 dogs, 2 kids. Car is starting to get a bit cramped, so we were looking for one. But yeah, things are just crazy. But what was it? Muddy Waters did a Carvana short report. And then we've been selling after that. Again, these are all algorithm based. So, right, I know there's a roughly 56% win rate and 1.5 to 1 risk reward. I can list you all the stats. So, this thing's gotten killed again. So it's 270 down to 170 in just a couple days. So if we can get another little flush on this one, and maybe a 30-minute or so chart starts to hold, this is another one that I'm watching kind of from the swing trading side of things.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's definitely a nice watch on the swing trade. Look at Serve already, guys. Serve, the robotics name, already up 13% out the gates here. Big action right out the gates, right? Nice move right through 21. Didn't even pull back to the VWAP yet. Definitely strong move there. Watching some rich tech as that one went above 5, now back below. We'll look to see if it does kind of a red to green move. Looking around into the space around in the market right now, and I like to pay attention, of course, to the open. So basic materials, energy, and consumer cyclical leading there, followed by technology and industrials. On the downside of things, we have a little bit of real estate down a little bit, and then healthcare pretty much neutral. The rest of the market in the green here. We'll see if it can keep pushing here. Taking a look at the SPY and the Qs. Seeing a nice little bounce back right before the open around 917. We got a little drop, but I think that's helping the buyers step back in here. I'm seeing Dollar Tree up big, Nvidia up a big there. I'm looking around to see some of the biggest moves in the market right now. Super microcomputers, big push up there. SMCI, I know I can't trade it, but maybe you guys can out there. I can't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole, but hey, maybe you guys can. So definitely SMCI, nice lift.
Yeah, speaking of Dollar Tree, so I'm going to just give you some symbols as they come through these algorithms that I'm testing.
Yeah.
So that's looking for a short. So the idea behind this, it's a second day play, right? So what it's looking for is that big move that happened yesterday on Dollar Tree, DLTR. That didn't do so well, right? It had this big kind of engulfing candle. Let me bring that up here, DLTR. So yeah, the idea, and the second day play is a pretty common one. So I certainly didn't invent this, but the idea is you had a engulfing candle, a pretty big, unusually wide candle for DLTR, and now we opened up and we're kind of rallying into that candle. So the idea is that anybody who wished that they sold the prior day, could have a bad time this time. So what we're looking for is potentially, if this bounce looks like it's going to fail, then we want to potentially short this. The stop loss I have for these is just the high of the day here. So if we break the high, then the trade is null and void. So again, as the pro day trader, what do you think of that potential short in DLTR?
It's not a bad outlook. I think this is one of those names that got a little lift because it was the beginning of the year. So sometimes the losers get sold off and then the repositions come back in, right? Kind of a window dressing approach, right? So I think that's what happened with Dollar Tree. Now the only question is, can it stick on here? The only question is like kind of this space that I want to be in right now. That would be probably my mentality. There's probably maybe a little bit stronger areas of the market. But yeah, Dollar Tree, I think, is pretty much stuck in between the 80 to like 60 range right now until it kind of distinguishes between what's going to happen in China, right? Because that's a lot of the inflationary pressure. Of course, a lot of the goods come from China. So I think at this point, yeah, downside bet might be your best bet on Dollar Tree, but also could still fill that gap on the left-hand side and then maybe start to go down to 81 above it there to the left-hand side. I'm seeing NNE hot today. So that was one that was definitely on the watch there. Already kind of getting a nice little lift there to 29. I'm looking for a slight dip below 28 if possible here to maybe try to catch that on a dip buy here. Serve up about 12%. Definitely seeing that. Rich Tech now down here and really kind of getting hit hard on the pullback. I'm looking to see if it's going to go back to the 5 here as Serve just took off. let's take a look at the quantum names, QUBT, straight up out the gates here. So we're definitely getting a nice day here to start it off. RCAT getting a nice little lift. So a lot of these smaller names pushing strong, and technology not leading the action. It's actually energy now from the open. So that's interesting to see that. And we'll see if maybe the market starts to come down with that as the market starts to pull back closer towards the VWAP on the SPY. We'll see if it goes into a little bit of the red from the open here as you're seeing energy get a little bit of a lift. XOM showing some of that strength as you're seeing some oil stocks get a little bit of a push.
For those, you mentioned, or I heard about MBOT this morning.
Yeah.
And that is one that's actually, we'll go MBOT. That's one that's come through a mean reversion algorithm. So these, I just want to say, are not for the faint of heart, but this is part of the systems that I'm coming up with. Again, the idea is that if you have an insane day on day one, and then you have a continuation on day two, often you have people chasing that, right? The informed people, the guys who were, taking trades as things were occurring, they're focused on day one. Day two, sometimes if you have especially a gap up, a little bit of an overextension, it may be interesting to look to take a short. So yeah, so dicey for sure.
Looking at RHE here. RHE just hesitated a little bit at the $5 spot. It's jumping up to the 550. We'll see if we're able to get it through there. This is a little bit of a spike morning setup. Regional Health, probably the top mover this morning, but setting up there a little bit of a 15-minute pattern here. Nice little base around the 430s. Looking for a little pullback to 5 to jump in here. I know that some buyers probably just jumped up there to the 550s, looking to see if they get pressured here. But look at that, already taken off there to the 6, right? So that would have already been a nice little buy there at 5, selling some into the 6. Then I'd be looking for that push really above the highs. The highs around 668. So let's see if it really wants to get going here. Definitely has the volume coming in there. You can see right there these nice big blocks on the 1 minute, about almost 1 million shares traded here. So it's getting going there. I missed the buy right there at 5. I'm not going to jump in now, but 620 now. Get a nice little push there. RHE.
Yeah, I'm still focused on this MBOT. So, the mean reversion system says, hey, take a look at this short. I've put up this blue line here is just the VWAP from the open. So I'm just going to watch this. If we fail to hold above this VWAP, this might be a nice little trade. Probably just put the stop above 3, right? So, looking at maybe a 250 short with a $3 top, and then just to see, again, these things sometimes get a little bit overdone, but again, these mean reversion algorithms, I'll just say, are not for the faint of heart. The second day ones that I'm playing with are much simpler, right? Dollar Tree is going to be a little bit easier trade for those who are a little bit newer than some of these. And the beauty of these is that quite often, if you end up being right, you can hold on for a little bit. So MBOT is probably not one that I would trade overnight. I would hold overnight, but something like a Dollar Tree, if you're short that name and you think there's going to be some continuation there, that could be an interesting one. So yeah, I'm watching this MBOT very closely just to see if we fail here.
All right, guys. One that I talked about this morning on the playbook, QuantumScape taking off. Nice little move there. Not a bad action moved here. QuantumScape up there to 680s now. We were watching it this morning, and the big part was this daily chart that I've been looking at. It's been trying to start to get a little bit of a turn going here, and I think that this was a really good kind of volume that came in it here. They got caught a little bit on the pullback, probably washed some of them out, but I can see that MACD really kind of building here. And it's a perfect stock, right? Perfect for the beginning of the year, and kind of a name that hasn't done much. Probably got rid of, some of the traders got rid of it in December, and now they're looking back at it like, man, should have held it for one more month. It could have got me back into the green there. So now this is getting hot. $7 in play today. 703 high from October 24th already coming in play. We'll see what happens with that one. Nice little lift here. It was about just from the open about 10%. So not a bad little move.
Cool. So yeah, I'm over here.
RAG also ripping there, continuing almost 650. Coming to you, my friend.
Yeah, I've got my couple first trades on my my first account
Aha.
as a member of Trade the Pool. I got a what's
Welcome
it called, a
to it,
mini,
man.
the little guy.
Yeah,
So far so
the
good.
limited. I like those. I like those minis. They do
We got
really well with the smaller names, right? You don't need the craziest amount of buying power.
No, and that's I think going to be a lot of my focus. So this MBot's going the other way, but yeah, I can just show CNRC was another one that came through that mean reversion system, and again the same idea, CNRC. So it's going to be kind of cool because I think you, Nick, are going to be talking a lot about the day one move. I know dyslexia coming in there. CRNC. You'll probably be talking about the day one move, and I'll probably be talking a lot about the day two move. So, which is always good. It's always good to keep whatever's in the news. You know, you're talking about themes earlier on watch to make sure that they're going to continue. And yeah, the idea behind this is this. Yeah, this massive candle yesterday, and then an extension move, and that's what triggered the algorithm or the alert, that extension move today. So I just took a little bit of a shot there, and so far so good. My risk on this is $300 a day, so I'm going to risk $50, I think, a trade, and I'm thinking I'm going to do, if I 3 trades in a row, it's going to be probably time to go. So far so good on that one.
Yeah, strike 3 and you're out. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I like that because again, my problem going back to when I was trading full time was, I think a lot of people experience this. You had a wicked morning, and then you gave it back in the afternoon. So it's one of those things that I think the timing of this show is perfect because it's probably going to tell me, hey, Mike, show's over. Shut it down. Stop watching. And yeah, as this thing continues to bleed lower, so far so good. So with these, what we're looking for is we're just looking for a potential gap fill. If we get into yesterday's range, it could just show that it's a blow off top, and people are just kind of moving on. So watching that, I did take the DLTR, but that's not really moving too much right now. And then yeah, I'm just watching MBot, and I'll let you know if anything else comes through. Nothing from the long side, I will say. So I have I'm currently looking at 4 strategies, and maybe we'll take some time one morning and go over them a little bit more in detail. But I'm currently looking at 4 strategies, 2 long, 2 short, because I just want to make sure I'm balanced in that way. And sometimes you can gain a lot of insight of what's happening in the market, of whether your longs are triggering or whether your shorts are triggering, which is why I think even if you're a swing trader or long-term trader, it makes sense to focus on this kind of stuff, right? Is that, you want to look at what's happening intraday. So MBot, again, my game plan still remains the same here. I'm looking for a clean break of VWAP to the downside. I can make this VWAP a bit bigger, I think. Yes, I can. So yeah, a clean break of VWAP to the downside, and I'm in. If we break this $3 or so, then I'll move on for a little bit later. So yeah, just watching the AVWAP here, or the VWAP, just to see what happens, and then watching these other guys. So geez, yeah, so far so great on CNRC. I'm at triple my risk right now. Now this is where things get interesting, and I'll actually ask for some of your assistance here on Mitch.
Yeah.
I'm awful at taking profits. So the systems I built assume an end of day close, right? And that a lot of that just has to do with the data behind system trading. So
Yeah.
I'm up 3.5 times my risk. So my theory is take half, maybe hold the rest for the system. But what do you think? What's your philosophy on profit taking? Because I do think it's the hardest part of the game.
Yeah, dude, it is. And I think that it's so under talked about. I think that, sometimes I've gone, like, when I can say, like, when I first started trading, I was all about the half and holding it, right? But then when I started to really dive deep into my, like, statistics, the problem with that one is sometimes letting the stock come back to that break even spot. If you really start calculating, I start losing my risk to reward profile, right? And sometimes I start looking back. Like I always say, like, take a look at your data. If you say you're trading a 3-to-1 like risk to reward, take a look to see what your actual data tells you, right? Because you might be saying or thinking that you're trading 3-to-1, but really you're trading closer towards a 2-to-1 or maybe even a 1-to-1, which is not what you want to be doing, right? What the actual results are telling you. There's the difference between what we intend the process to be or the system versus what we actually get out, right? So what I started noticing was more and more, a lot of times on those first profit takes, that's probably where I should have took the whole money out, right? And then, so what I started to try to do a little bit more of is raise a stop loss to that first profit take. And at that point, get cut out completely at that point.
So like a very tight stop loss, like, right, just you, and then you're either saying, okay,
Get to
go
that first
big,
reward, get to
or
that first reward, and then say, I'll take that first reward if it comes back. Because I did the hard work. I already took the trade. I'm in the green, right? I can take this minimum. This is the minimum that I want to take in the green, essentially.
yeah,
And then starting to do a ladder approach. Raise like, because on our platform here, we have a lot of we can use like a target profit and a stop loss right on the chart. So I showed them that approach, like try to ride the momentum, but I start moving the stop loss at levels. So it could be dollar amounts or it could be resistance and support amounts, things
gotcha.
like that.
Well, and that's probably a good thing for the viewers too, right? You can show me all the advanced tricks here.
Yeah,
I'm still
I'll
just
keep
learning.
showing you them. I'll keep showing you them as I do them, and ways that I've learned to kind of get around certain things. Like one of the things is in this platform, and a lot of the times I try to talk about with traders about not showing your hand. So working orders a lot of the times can show your hand a lot of the time. I talk about it like being a poker player. I only want to open my hand when I know I have a winner. I only want to show it when I know I have the winner, right? And there's certain times where I feel like orders should be out, and there's certain times where I feel like orders should not be out. And a lot of times, if you kind of play that game, it's a little bit of a give and go, right? Because not having stops out there immediately can cost you. But at the same time, I like to not show my hand of where I want to get in or out of until the trade starts getting into the green and to a stronger position. Then I'll go ahead and make sure that the orders are out there. But a lot of the times I want to kind of be that poker with my hand closed, right? I don't want the dealer to know what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to get in and out of, essentially.
Well, okay. Well, I did just that, right? So my idea was I wanted to get this the low of the day. It got to the low of the day. So now I just move my stop down there. So if I get taken out here, that's great. That's still like a 4-to-1 risk reward, which is just perfect. Be a good way to start day one at the company, eh? Not blowing up any money. So
no, that's number one. We always say that's our job, right? Our job is
risk
not to blow
management.
up. After that, we can do a lot in between. But
My trading mentor always said, and I always love this about the saying, is he said, listen, your job as a trader is to stay alive until you get lucky. He said eventually you're going to buy something
100%.
and you're just going to get like, you're going to buy a stock and the next day it's going to get bought out for double or triple the price and you got lucky, and that will make your year. And your job is just to make sure that you haven't gotten killed so much that when you get lucky, it's not fun, right? So so just to stay alive until you get lucky was always kind of my thing. So you have to have a system in place where you can get lucky, right? I know the people who, they risk 2 to make 1. Well, they don't ever have that opportunity to get lucky, right? They don't have that chance. Where I remember there was a couple times, I started trading again at the prop firms when I was in university, where I remember once I punched into 1,000 shares of a stock and it got halted, which I was then terrified about, and then bought out for a double. And when you're trading intraday with a whole lot of leverage, a double is like, that was, like 500 times what I was planning on risking. It made multiple months of gains. But yeah, it was one of those things. If you're not in it, if you're not alive, it's not gonna work out for you.
Seeing a name on the scanner show up here, guys. This one just started going. POAI, guys. Anything with the AI on the end of it right now, of course, you can take a look at it, right? Seeing multiple names like that, like GFAI, right, up in the green too. Sound I saw was doing pretty decent here, so just calling that out. Looking to try to get in NNE here on a pullback here. Let's see if I'm able to get a little entry here towards 28. Wouldn't mind to get 28.10s here, closer towards a VBAP recovery. Looking for this to maybe make a move to 29. It did kind of hold the support around the 27.50 area. Let's see if it can come back here towards 29. Just looking at NNE, of course, this is a nuclear player. And if you look at on the 15-minute, I'm just pretty much trying to catch it here around the 28. There you go, 28.05. Just got an entry, 200 shares. Nothing crazy. Just going to start it off here to see if we can get back here towards the 29 and start getting going.
Yeah, the the algos are starting to die off a little bit.
Mhm.
This NRXP just came through that that second day play move. So again, it's looking at this candle, and it's saying this candle was a pretty bearish, an unusually bearish candle for this particular setup. And now we're bouncing a little bit on this today. 500,000 shares traded today, so not the most liquid thing in the world. So I'll be a little bit careful, but we're above VWAP, which is something I'm looking at on the intraday chart. Big fan, a big friend of Brian Shannon. It's a good buddy of mine. A big VWAP guy. So I do a lot of my trading around VWAPs. I find it makes the risk reward and the idea behind a lot of these things much simpler. Where, hey, my game plan is if we are under VWAP, I want to be short, and if we're over VWAP, then it's time to go. Right? A lot of institutions use it. I just saw it gap on the 2-minute chart, so that made me a little bit less interested in this name. But that was just the only new one. And again, MBOT and CNRC are the only two there. So I got stopped out of that CNRC for a great profit. So I'm up over 3 times my risk in total on that. And I am short this MBOT, which isn't really moving too much. But yeah, that's all I really got on the go right now. And then Dollar Tree, which, this one's going to be a bit slow. What I may do is, because I've got my stop on Dollar Tree at yesterday's high, if we break down VWAP again, I might add to it and then just lower so I can keep my risk the same, right? And again, my idea is, the daily stop on this one's 300. So that means I want to risk about $50, I think. So then if I'm wrong 3 times in a row, I've only hit half of that risk, and then I can just close it down and try again. And again, we'll see. So, again, what I like about this style, we talked about earlier about how I am notoriously not a great day trader, is that everything's going to be sorted the night before. So I do a lot of work. You guys will see off screen, or off stream. I do a lot of work at night when the new data comes in. I'll run the systems. I'll get my idea. I'll know what I'm doing then. And then when the day comes, I'm kind of watching. So most of the time when I'm doing like the hardcore analytics, you guys will see will be on that kind of macro time frame. I think that's something that I can help you guys out with and bring to the table, just because that's more of my forte, right? That's something that I do.
All right, guys, starting to get into the green here with NNE. Looking for a move back above the 2850s here to see if I can maybe get an ad and start really trying to push it towards 29. NNE, looking around also at some smaller names, taking a look to see if this starts to get the lift. CCJ is another one that I like to look at and see that it's up on the day. When I'm trading these, right? Want to see some other uranium names starting to look good. URA is one that we talked about before the bell, doing pretty well already too, right? The ETF. So taking a look at UEC and some of that action, we'll look to see if we can get the lift. Market overall doing pretty well up here towards 598. Really starting to kind of get back up there. Of course, we could have a nice little pullback. I'm looking for that 600, seeing if maybe we can get to it today. What do you think, Michael?
If we get to that today, I think there's going to be a lot of people caught offside. We talked about that this morning, where let's bring up the SPY here, where so many people were kind of betting for the end of the world here, and just an absolute rocket ship. That MAGS ETF I noticed is actually underperforming a little bit. Just look, and I asked, a lot of people ask about this kind of stuff. Just look at the size of the candle, right? You just eyeball it. You don't have to be too fancy. I know the CMT, with all the tests they're making you take, Mitch, will probably yell at me for that. But you can just eyeball it, right? This candle is bigger than the other one. That's actually a good thing. It shows me that it's not just the big guys that are moving the market. You want to see that. You want to see that kind of rotation through other sectors and other industries. Let's go to the heat map here and see what's moving on. Well, first of all, that's a lot of green on the heat map, right? That means pretty much everything, excuse me, pretty much everything is doing fantastic. There's your uranium up 3%. Psychedelics are up quite a bit. We have jets, we have metals, we have mining, pretty much everything. So it's interesting to see what's down. MSOS is down. Those marijuana stocks that's usually the case anyway. XLU, which is our utilities, that's what you want to see down, right? Gold is down. We have bonds are down. This is the stuff on an update that you want to see down, because these are defensive assets, utilities, bonds, gold. So it's okay to see defensive assets down on a day that you have everything else in the world up. So this is one of those everything rallies, which again, we love to see. the thing that I'll be looking at is what's doing the best, right? So this UNG, we talked about in this in the morning. This is kind of my real focus for my own personal big boy money that I want to put into. But this is why I mentioned that I would kind of zoom into a 30-minute chart that I like and wait, because we opened up and so far we've just been selling off. So I want
The
something to hold.
Widowmaker, man. The Widowmaker.
Yeah.
Quantum in the chat and Wisdom in the chat would love to hear that you're trading natural gas. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
he's a big fan of that one.
junkie.
Yeah, there's a reason why they call it the Widowmaker, though.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to trade, I'll tell you that much. I've traded it before, and of course with Boyle and things like that. So we'll see what happens with it. It's definitely on the pullback right now, but it's interesting for sure. Playing natural gas and playing like that commodity game and that overall, it's an interesting play. It really is. It's something to think about. And I know that we have a lot of traders that join us from also like the fivers and different action on futures and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, so it's a dangerous security. Again, what I, in case you missed what we were talking about there, what I like is, again, this 200-day moving average. That's my play. If we're above this 200-day moving average, I want to find a pullback to buy. I want to find some sort of nice pullback into 15 or so. If I can get involved there, that's great. And below that, it's time to get out. Above that, then I think we're good. And again, I think this thing's got a lot of potential. I was looking at the options there. Very expensive, very, very expensive. I don't think that's going to be the way that I'm personally going to play it. Unless you go like really out of the money, you're getting break-even points around $22 a share. That's a lot. But the beauty of trading options and something like that is it's very defined risk. I don't think I would take something like this in a swing account unless I'm taking it very, very small, because just look at the gaps, right? You go to the chart, you look at the gaps, and you say this thing gaps up a lot, it gaps down a lot. You could get lucky and do very, very well on something like a trade the pool account, but you could also have a massive gap down and wipe that out. So that's not something that I'm super exciting to play there. So I want to find something that I can more define my risk. Options might be the way to go. And that's the beauty of trading, is first you have the idea, then there's 20 ways that maybe you can represent that potential idea.
Looking forward to seeing what happens or resolves out of this NNE. Right now, the market kind of hanging on. There's a lot of setups where the setups are on the top end of the range, like QUBT, just hanging out there at the 1950 area. We'll see if it gets through the 20s. I feel like this is a little too extended for me to jump in there, but definitely is holding the trend. A couple of these names really strong today. Rigetti also, RGTI up about 11.8%, now 12%. So RCAT, the drone maker, getting a little bit of a lift, not as strong as the other ones, but IonQ trying to recover 50 today, something definitely to keep a watch out. And then the strength that's in Micron, big move there. So strong action there, up about 9%, up to 98. Who knows? Maybe it could fill the gap today. I mean, that gap, we talked about it just a little while ago before the pre-market. And look at the action already from around an open at 91 to 98.80. So almost back to the 100.
That's a great, that daily chart you had up there. I was just staring at your screen. That's a great looking daily chart on that MU, where it's got the bands, right? They got really, really tight. They expand out for a second, just showing you, hey, okay, we got the volatility. Now let's see if we can go. You quite often see that you get really tight bands, and then it makes a move to get outside the band, and you get these like whip action right to the other side of the other band, right to the other end.
Exactly. That's why I use these too, is to kind of show traders how sometimes you're seeing as something as like, oh, it's on the breakout. It's on the breakout. It's going to keep going. Well, not always, man. Taking a look at where it is on the standard deviation can give you a nice little insights that, yeah, it can hold up here, but it's not going to spend that much time outside of it, right? It has a tendency of coming back to it. I think that you're seeing that clear move here. And it was interesting because it was looking like a breakout, right? It just ran into, I think, a bad day with so-and-so earnings, and that can do it for you.
Yeah. So I added 2 because it happened kind of the way I wanted, exactly to my dollar tree here. So again, the idea was this came from a second day play algo, so DLTR, right? The idea was simply turn off the indicators now. Bad day the other day, and then it starts to rally to about the midpoint of the candle using like a 2-day VWAP idea. And when it gets there, it starts to struggle a little bit. So I took an initial short, but I think my stop was a little bit too high because I put it all the way up at like $77. I think intraday that was probably too much. And now we broke, if I add the indicators back in, we broke VWAP here. So when we're breaking down VWAP, I just add it to the position, and I only add to a position when I can lower my stop. So I lowered my stop to a little bit above 76. So now it's either going to break down, it's going to be a good trade, maybe fill the gap into yesterday, or it's going to come back and get me. But either way, this is just part of the system, and that's what I'm doing over here to trade the system. The only other thing that's come through, interestingly enough, here is iRobot, and I'm just shocked that this company still exists. IRBT.
That's actually not a bad one to think about. I think just because it's such a beaten down name, January effect definitely coming into this one. It's not something that I think it gets an all year kind of rally, but beginning of the year, not a bad one to see up, right? I think you're seeing a lot of those names getting a lift.
Yeah, we zoom out to the monthly chart here. $207 down to $6. That's a rough ride down. So if it can get going, maybe a little bit of a short-term bounce. What do we have for the IRBT? What do we have for the short here? And only 10% short. I would imagine something that killed would have a higher short float, but not doing too much. So then watching this again, the idea behind this is that it had for the overextension rally, it's saying this candle right here was pretty wild. So we have this next candle that's coming up here as well. So for me, I'm not just going to short it because the system said so. I'm going to zoom in to a shorter term chart and just try to get some kind of idea that says, hey, that's enough, right? We want to take another trade. So topping tail, a bearish candle, a break below VWAP, something like that. But that one has now entered my watch list as well. And still nothing interesting coming through the long side of things. So I don't know if it's just because the market's ripping and a lot of the intraday stuff that I'm doing is revision to the mean, but I don't know. Watch an iRobot, see what happens to this $12 area, a psychological whole number.
All right, our RBTI robot going for the 12 break. Not a bad looking chart there. I mean, it's really not looking too bad. It's starting to get that nice little push there. Vuzi's another one with the big move today. I'm watching Fubo maybe for a pullback to 3 here. Now it's hanging out a little bit, and I've seen it do like about 1, 2, 3, and you can maybe call this the 4th time here. Try to break towards the 3rd. A lot of times what I'm looking for is about 3 waves and a 4th attempt to fail, Michael. That's a lot of the time that I look at it. I call it the rule of 3, but I mean, it's all how you guys look at it. So a lot of times I'm looking for those waves. Give me 3 or 4 waves below the VWAP, attempt to wash that out, and then I want to jump on it, right? Because that way you attempt that wick action on that last attempt a lot of times washes out the bulls, and then the big swing reversal back to the upside comes in. So in this case, it gives me the ability, instead of buying here at 330, looking for the pullback wash towards like 305 and 3 here, and then looking for that to come quickly back to the 350. We'll see what happens.
What's your lower indicator there? Is that a MACD?
MACD, yeah. I usually keep a MACD, I'll keep an RSI, and then I'll show from time to time. The bottom one will be an ATR. Gotcha. Those are about the 3 that I mainly use. For RSI, I'm all about historical reference. So pretty much just looking at the stock itself. When does the stock have a tendency of changing versus just the classic, 80-20. Because there's some stocks that, hey, man, they go to 99 or 98 RSI all the time, right? And then there's some stocks that barely hit 60 on the RSI and they turn around, right? So I think what a lot of times for me is historical reference. That's the way I refer to it.
That makes perfect sense to me. And then the work I've done with it, you're trying to just focus on, how that stock interacts. Andrew Caldwell, rest in peace, did amazing work on the RSI, and he talked a lot about that too, is that they have kind of themes, right? So quantum looks like it's that all of quantum computer looks like we're having a bit of a pullback here.
Yep. classic pullback right now. I mean, it's 10 o'clock, right? We'll look for some pullback action. A lot of times I start taking a look at like the hourlies, looking to see if there's some resistance that we can pull back to, like QUBT. An area that I'd be looking at is around kind of like this 1870 range, right? So slightly undercutting 19 here, looking for buyers to step in as it starts to cut that 19. That's what I'll be looking for. Maybe go into the next layer around the 1870s, 1880s for a quick dip and recovery in those names. And just to kind of get perspective, right? I'm looking to try to get that FUBU. I put out some orders. Still got that NNE, and look at NNE go. It's starting to get into the green here, now starting to hold the VWAP. I will let you guys know that I got to wrap up today, but I'm going to have Tim join in now to kind of stay with you, Michael.
Cool.
Going through a little bit of some flood situation here that I'll tell you a little bit more about. But the chat knows a little bit more about it too. So just pretty much housing situation going on, but dealing with that. But the truth is, hey, we keep it going here, right? We try to move and keep trading. So I'm excited. Of course, I'll bring on my man Tim as he goes and joins here, and then I'll be hopping out. But as you guys can see, I'll be trying to get NNE pretty much holding on this bottom action here to see if it starts to really kind of get back there towards the 29. If you see it on the 15-minute, essentially I'm seeing wicks above the VWAP. I want to start seeing a body close above that to show me that it wants to start getting some buyers to hold.
Yeah, I hope everything's good over there, man. Be safe. Whatever, I'm sure you'll let me know, but whatever's going on, I just hope you're safe and everything's healthy, right?
Yeah, that's all. That's what matters most, and that's why my man Tim's joining and helping me out, right? We'll be going until 11, guys. You guys will be with Michael and Tim, and looking forward to having more streams with you, Michael. It was great to have it today, and I hope the chat enjoyed it, and we'll keep trying to bounce on each other's strengths and weaknesses and try to give you guys learning lessons, right? Because that's what it's all about, right? It's not necessarily, like I always say, copycat trading is not for me. And if you want to look at copycat trading, you guys can go elsewhere. Like always, there's plenty of other platforms that kind of deal with that. What I always talk about, we're here to give you guys the real experience of seeing a trader take his approach every single day and take it in a business-like approach so that you guys can learn and really adapt your systems. That's what's all about. And what I love is that Michael will be bringing in that quantum, that kind of that view into really looking into systems more into that test-like mentality, right? Because I feel like a lot of traders have a tendency of saying that they have a system, but then do they really have a system, right? Can you ask them what they trade, what they risk, what their profile is, what type of stocks you're looking for? So I think you guys will be learning all this really well and done the best way that Michael does, right? He looks into the data. He's looking into how things are performing. And there's another thing that you guys will learn. I mean, Michael has a lot of action out there. I mean, he even has his own statistics that he's taken for his own action, right? I think we'll talk more and more about that, Michael. We'll talk more about stats because you're really doing a great job on that. So thank you for coming on with me today. I'm hopping out of here, but I'll let you guys take control. And like always, guys, keep trading out there. Stay safe.
Awesome. Thank you very much, bud.
See you, Mitch. Good luck with everything.
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Hey, Michael.
Nice to meet you.
Good. Likewise. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic so far. We're watching the market rip to new highs here.
That's for sure.
Yeah, new all-time high, or not new all-time highs getting close. We're getting new highs of the day. What else do you want, right? A nice bull market makes everything more fun. Yeah, and we'll go back to the dashboard again. We'll go back to the heat map, see what's going on. Again, mostly everything's green, and this is the kind of thing you want to look at. Even RSP is up 1%. So if you guys don't know, RSP is kind of it's the same 500 names that are in the S&P 500. However, it's equally weighted as opposed to cap weighted. So your Teslas, your Nvidias, all of these names, they don't really have that effect that in this ETF that they do in the SPY, right? If Tesla and Nvidia are both crashing on the day and everything else in the market's ripping, then the SPY's probably down still. And in this case with the RSP, it's not. So this gives you a better idea of what the average quote unquote, the average stock is doing. When the average stock is doing well, you'll see the RSP going higher. When the average stock is doing poorly, you'll see this going lower. And you can see, the bleeding in the RSP started way before the S&P 500. So this has been relatively weak for a long time. Just saying, again, the big guys have been leading the show. I don't think that surprises anybody who's been watching the market, but we are seeing a nice little push up today, nearly 1% on your average large cap stock. So it's a great time to be someone who does a lot of swing trading and long-term holding as well. Other than that, again, UNG, my long-term focus. I'm watching the 30 minutes. I'm looking for some action, saying that we're going to dig in here into this gap, and then in my own kind of personal account, I'm going to pull the trigger on that guy. Looks like my dollar tree got stopped out there. DLTR. That's just part of it. I maybe shouldn't have done that ad. That's something I'll make in my notes tonight. DLTR. There we go. Yeah, so it popped up there and triggered out the stop loss. The original stop was supposed to be all the way up here. I got a little impatient, I think, maybe an attitude. So we'll see, right? That's why you take notes at the end of the day. What went right, what went wrong. CNRC was great. CRNC was great. And then DLTR, not so much. So I'm just looking through. Not a lot happened. Not a lot going on. Here as kind of the opening craziness winds down a little bit, but I'll keep you posted. So what are you watching, Tim?
Oh yeah, I've been looking at overall indices, and bear with me. I actually have a trade going on here. Also bear with me because we have a giant windstorm over here.
Oh,
so we'll see how that all plays out. Now, I am noticing that I'm looking at retailers again because those had some interesting things going on. Recently.
XRT here. So yeah, you're talking.
So we had. Target looks like it's got a nice bull flag there. I have also been watching Dollar Tree. I heard you mention, was that you or Mitch that mentioned that? I'm sorry,
No, that came from one of my algorithms for playing off of this bad candle that happened yesterday or Friday, I guess at this point. But yeah, a lot of big gap to fill if it ever got over this kind of 77 area. A couple gaps, right? So it had this initial gap down and then a continuation gap from there. iRobot. So I did end up taking a short in this iRobot. So what happened was it got to this $12 area, chopped around for a period of time, and then broke down under this $12 area. So for safety, and again, just small account that I'm testing out here, I put the stop above 13. The algorithm said 14 based off the volatility of the name. 13 was, I think, enough for me. I don't know if I'll pay for that the same way I did DLTR, which again may still end up working. I just got a little bit too excited for it, but I will quickly move that stop if we end up getting below VWAP, which I see it's roughly 1150 or so. If we get below that VWAP, I'll probably put my stop over the high of the day, maybe add again, maybe take another shot at the same thing. But the idea behind this again is just it's an overextension style system. Again, not for the faint of heart to be fading these, but you take a look at this stock. This has been just an absolute dog. I think at one point here, I can't remember, the news was they were going to get bought out, and then that buyout got denied, or they pulled out of it, or the FTC or something said no, because that's why it had this really tight action in this area. And when that broke, it was just it was lights out after that. So from $200 down to $5, I think it put in a couple reverse splits there just to stay listed. Don't even know what they do. They make vacuums or something, don't they? iRobot? Not too sure.
I believe so.
Like those robot vacuums.
I believe they have the what's the floor vacuum? The
Roomba?
Yes, there you go. There you go. Don't even need me here.
iRobot designed in building robots, vacuums and mops and pool cleaners. Okay, there you go. Yes, I don't know what's so wrong with the company. That seems like a pretty decent business, but yeah, it just must be struggling at the time, because yeah, it's been having a bad time for sure. So again, the idea behind, as a systems trader, right? I just observe what happens in the market and then I test it. So 90% of what I do for work and trading is done offline, away from the markets, because I need a lot of time to test these things. And the idea behind this is, what happened if you had a massive up day on day one and then a continuation the next day? How often do those continuations stick versus how often does someone come in and start selling, right? If you were long from $8 on this name and it gets to 12, that's a great 50% return in 2 days. Maybe you're putting a little bit, you're squirreling a little bit away. So I test them and I refine them and use machine learning and all that kind of fancy stuff to try to get some idea of systems that I can do. And then I just get alerts. So anytime you see me look that way, that's because that's where the alerts are coming through, just to see if there's anything that I can shout out to you guys. So yeah, it'll be very interesting, because I think Mitch is one that follows the news way more. So he may tell me why this thing's happening. Whether, I don't know if iRobot's going to make quantum computing now, or what's going on, Ozempic, or I don't know, maybe AI vacuum cleaners is the next thing. But I'll generally be following things on day two. It's part of being a quant, right? I need the data first and then to make the decision. It's very hard to do it the other way around, where I kind of get that in real time.
Sounds good.
You look at crypto at all? Bitcoin up 2% today, 3%, or are you just mainly indices?
Well, yeah, no, I am actually in crypto. Unfortunately, we don't have any Dogecoin ETFs just yet, but
Not yet.
yeah, I've been watching that over the weekend. We also have, I've been checking in on some names that I had, but yeah, I was looking at the broader markets this last week, and honestly, I'm just playing catch up. I've been out, not out sick, but I've been kind of under the weather the last few weeks, so I'm taking sort of a fresh look at a few things. I have sort of a basket of things that I tend to look at day to day. I also I do get my Farm Catalyst newsletter, but I haven't had a chance to check in on that today either. But I will say that it's interesting looking at again, Target and Walmart. So Dollar Tree, you mentioned that popping from your algorithm. Was that to the long or the short side?
This is a short setup for it's just for
Mhm.
intraday, right? So if you're looking
Mhm.
a little longer term, but yeah, the idea, this is there's two systems I'm running now. One I just described with the kind of overextension. The other is a second day play. So you're looking for a big candle on day one, and then some retracement into that candle on day two, and looking to see if you can take a trade off that. So I did. I got a little bit too greedy. I took it a little bigger and lowered my stop when it looked weak. But yeah, the idea is, and the beauty of a lot of these systems is, you kind of look for points where it's negated as well. So the stop that comes out for the system is right at the high of the day. So the idea is, if we fail here, right, and we fail to kind of break this high, then it means that whatever selling took place on this day was real. And if we end up breaking through that high, then anybody who sold or short that day is probably underwater. That's the beauty of big engulfing candles like that. So yeah, just, and it's up against all this resistance here. So from a longer term point of view, if it gets through there, that's great. But how many times is it going to break cleanly versus how many times is it going to kind of chop around for a little bit, and we could play that chop. MBOT moving a little bit. I may lower my stop here on MBOT to break even, and iRobot not doing anything. Coming back up to challenge that $12 area, hit VWAP and just bounced. DLTR continuing to say, hey, you should take a look at this. I don't think I'm going to jump back in unless we start to, if I go here and do a 2-minute chart and turn on pre-market, right? Here's a pre-market high. We got to that and it looks like we failed from it. Maybe worth another shot. I don't know. Kind of gun shy, right? It's my first day with this account. I definitely don't want to fall into the over trading trap, and made a little bit of money. So I might want to end up just taking that, especially with the S&P 500, Dollar Tree, and a lot of these retailers being S&P 500 names, with the S&P 500 ripping like this. I'm more okay shorting these smaller cap or crazier ones. But when you see a name, when it comes to something that's in the S&P 500 and the S&P 500 is ripping, then you're kind of fighting the market a bit. So I'm going to watch it here. Maybe if we dip back under that whole number 76 and spend a couple minutes under that, maybe I'll take one more shot at it. And then if that fails, I'll probably shut it down, take the little win and call it a good day one at the company, and a good day one with this account I'm trying. Every time I look at this dashboard, it just looks more and more green. Psychedelics, again. So we have natural gas, semiconductors, psychedelic, and clean energy are the top kind of 3 ETFs here. Jets doing well. Pretty much everything, right? Wheat up 2%, ARC up 2.5%, copper up 2.5%. Throw a dart at it and it's good. Steel up 2.5%. Yeah, everything's doing pretty well. Uranium, solar, again, the things that are down here are the things that you kind of expect to be down. MSOS, unfortunately, right? The psychedelic or the marijuana names are just always down. You have ITA, defense and aerospace. You have TLT, which is our bond ETF. You have XLU, which is utilities. All those are down. And that makes sense. Again, it's what you want to see when that occurs. These are defensive names. They're names that are going to generally go down when the market goes up, because these are things that we are looking to buy, right, when we're worried about the markets. And if the market's just ripping, then you expect to see all these down. So I generally like to look at what's down when the market's up, because if I see something here that doesn't make sense to me, then that might be something to play off of. For example, biotechs is actually kind of interesting. Biotechs are not joining this rally with so let's do XBI. Yeah, so it's not a great candle so far in biotechs, and relatively weak, just holding at lows. So we had a little gap up this morning on biotechs that got reversed pretty much entirely at lows. And then this PSIL, which is always interesting, so this is the psychedelic ETF. I kind of try to ignore this candle right here, because that was that drug stock that went from like $3 to $1 million for absolutely no reason. And ever since then, this is more of what the psychedelic sector kind of looks like. Nice little breakout. That's why it's been on my radar. We've gone from $10 to about 13 in 3 days, so about a 30% gain in this sector overall. Just looking around to see what else is happening. We have iRobots now back above that $12 a share, so I'm a little bit underwater on that. IRBT. So we can take a look at that. Again, this is a pretty simple play. It's right. Do we end up holding here? The pre-market high is $12.50. I'd probably kill it before it got to the $13 that the algo wants. If we get a clear move above $12.50. So I sized a move all the way up to 13 on this one. Again, the idea is this thing always gets beaten down. Every time we get a little bit of spike here, we get a move, it kind of beats down, we get a move, we get beats down, that kind of thing. So S&P 500, again, continuing to grind. Maybe 3 or 4 candles here in a row. A lot of topping tails, a lot of choppy action. Do we actually have any news today? None. So we got nothing today. A fair amount tomorrow. So we have ISM and JOLTS tomorrow. Wednesday, unemployment claims, FOMC minutes. So it might be one of those things that it looks like for the rest of the week, we're getting a lot more economic news. And today we're getting next to nothing. Non-farm payrolls, unemployment numbers, all of that happens on Friday. So pretty much every day this week, except today, we get numbers. And then Thursday, the markets are closed for, again, Canadian trying to, Jimmy Carter, I believe his name was, an ex-president. So they closed the markets down for a day when one of them passed. So that's a Thursday this week. The markets are going to be shut. Just FYI, because I know a lot of people are not going to expect that. They're going to log into their stations Thursday morning. They're going to try to look for the live stream. They're going to be doing a lot to get pumped, and then the market's not going to open. They're going to wonder what's happening. So, yeah, Friday the market is closed. So, or Thursday, sorry, the market is closed. So we need to kind of make hay while the sun shines this week. So I think Tuesday it looked like there was a lot of action, and on Wednesday there was a lot of action as well. So I'm going to watch this S&P 500 for a little bit, because I think we're at a very interesting moment. We're at 599. We talked about the $600 area, which was right here. You can see if we zoom in the 3 topping tails that occurred around 600 to 602, right here, here, and here. So that kind of zone is pretty interesting to me. We can just remove this, and then just kind of put in this box here, right? If we just incorporate all of these topping tails, you can see we have a little bit of a zone here. Right? So that's interesting to me, because every time you see topping tails, right, all topping tails mean is that this area is an area in which there was resistance before, right? We came up to the zone, sellers came in later in the day, we came up to the zone again, sellers came in late in the day, we came up to it again, sellers, right? So 3 days in a row, the market tried to push into this area, and there was a big block of sellers who were looking to take profit there, and then we had this sell off from there. So if we get into this 600 to 602 area, right, the low end of this band is 599, which we're getting very close to. The question for me anyway is, are we going to see that happen again? If we see that happen again, where these sellers come in and then get rejected, well, then that's something that I'm going to go, okay, that shows me that they're still here. If we just blow through that zone, then I think all bets are off. We're probably taking out highs. This whole head and shoulders pattern that the entire world has been looking at, it's probably done. It's probably not going to be the way it works. We're probably not going to have a head and shoulders top. And again, my favorite long setups are where everybody else is looking for a top. It just shows that there's so many people that are offside. It could be interesting. And, we talked about the first 5 days indicator. That is a very important indicator, in my opinion. So, the first 5 days of the market, if they're bullish, there's an 84% chance that the market moves higher by the end of the year, and significantly higher. It's usually, I think the average is 12%, which is really good year, compared to 8%, which is our normal average year in the markets. And if that first 5 days indicator is negative, there's still a 60% chance I think we move higher, but it's only like 2% on average. So most really bad years have happened when that first 5 indicators has flashed red. So that's why I have this yellow line, this vertical line right here. This is just the first trading day of the year, just to make sure I can count. So this is day 3. So assuming we close here, then it's already great. So as long as we are above the close of this candle right here by Friday, no, so it would be Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, so by Thursday, then that's the first 5 indicators. Which again, shout out. I know me and Mitch already did this Stock Traders Almanac. Definitely an amazing read. Something that I keep an eye on as I kind of read through as the time goes by. I kind of read it month by month as everything happens. I think it's a kind of a really cool way to do it, where you keep an eye on what's happening there. But just watching the SPY, just trying to see, right, what's happening at this zone right here.
I think it's possible we might get it could be a reversal time. I'm looking for the London close. And that would be 11:30. And so, often we'll see some kind of reversals then. Often we're kind of into their power hour now, right? So
Power. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it keeps looking like it's going to reverse, and I think we're in kind of melt up mode. I don't see this ending right now personally. Now on individual names, it is interesting. Again, I'm watching, for example, NVIDIA, ARM, TSM, AMD, all doing the pretty much the same as NASDAQ index, obviously. But then if I look at if I look at well, not really financials, but if I look at Carvana, for example, that's selling. Disney kind of rounding over on the top, Tesla also rounding over on top, and starting to see some selling on those retailers. So this could be that moment for that Dollar Tree chart you're looking at. It's trying to catch here, and the question is whether it's actually going to do that. But what I've seen it doing kind of all weekend for the crypto stuff, all night and morning for the futures is these kind of wicks down where it looks like it's going to give it up and then kind of popping up from there, and then it doesn't necessarily stay in until it does, right? So it's just kind of some brutal market action this morning. We had in the Discord, we had someone mentioning that their the Forex markets are a little bit crazy for them as well. So I was taking a look at the Canadian dollar due to Justin Trudeau is resigning, is the rumor, at least. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but it sounds pretty definite. So,
okay.
As
there's
a Canadian,
some
you
movement.
think
I would know that. That's how much I follow even our own politics, right?
Yeah. So there's some movement there, but it seems like it was sort of dwarfed by just what seems to be just a dollar move in general. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to watch this Dollar Tree closely. I'm kind of with you there that we're in melt up mode, and sometimes in melt up mode, when the reversal happens, it happens really quick. So you kind of have to be, you got to be ready for that. So, we broke that 76 hole number, and now it looks like we're testing it. So it might be another place to take another shot here just to see. This again, usually if I have an idea like this, again, presented by a system, I usually give it 2. Right, I'll give it 2 shots, and then I very strongly yell at myself to walk away, because I've definitely fallen into the trap of you have the same idea, you give it 5 or 6 times, and even by the time you're right, you end up kind of down from that. So yeah, Dollar Tree, and again the VWAP, right? The VWAP seems to be let's put this on here. Yeah, this VWAP, it keeps coming down to it and bouncing and coming down. This is a brick wall. So maybe the play on Dollar Tree is just if we lose the VWAP for the day, that's the time to take so maybe a small short, and then maybe a bigger short if it continues, because yeah, we're hitting this VWAP. And my MBOT is reversing here, coming back up to the VWAP from the other side. So I'm going to watch this one closely just to see if it rejects from there. If we end up getting above it, I'll probably just take a little tiny loss and say, okay, this one's not breaking down. Because what I want from these, the idea, again, is you're looking for a crazy day 1 that continues on day 2. And then, sometimes you get these things just completely falling apart after that, right? They gap it up day 2 to sucker in all the people who think that, this MBOT is going to be the next thing that's going to make them rich. And 9 times out of 10 it's not. So they pull the rug on everyone, and it goes falling down. So if that doesn't occur, then it's usually time to go. CNRC was kind of that, right? Didn't quite happen. I got out somewhere in this area, so I could have gotten a little bit of a better fill, but it came down to pre-market low and yesterday's low, and it just doesn't want to fill the gap, at least right now. When it comes to the system, the only other thing that's coming through is like CRK, which is just a resource stock. So that wouldn't be too interesting, but could be an interesting trade. Again, the idea is that this down candle is a characteristically bearish candle. right? And while we bounce up into the inside of that candle, if we start to see failure there, sometimes you have these continuations where you'll get this kind of nice second move down. This is, I guess we can zoom in. This is kind of a good example of this as well, right? You had a pretty bad bearish candle. It gapped up into the middle of that candle. And when it failed and started to push lower, right, you can get a little trade. And again, we're looking for, even though I'm using daily candles here, these are all just intraday trades. I'm going to get a swing trading account here set up, I'm sure, sometime in the near future.
Cool.
S&P 500 check. Oh, we're pulling back a little bit, so maybe let's take a little pop there on DLTR and see. Yeah, my iRobot not working out. Yeah, I got my stop a little over 13, and then we'll just see. So yeah, those are the systems. Let me see if I don't know how I can give you guys the equity curve chart just to show you these have been tested. I did all of this in prep for hanging out with you guys. So I hope, but that now is where you get to see the part. Oh, there we go, just like that. So now you get to see the part where does the fake world line up with the real world, right? So each of these lines are the different strategies that I'm talking about. And then the gray shaded area is what happens if you combined all those into a portfolio. It's up most years, but you can see not perfect, right? We have down times, you know, we have flat times, we have times where we're not making money, just like any system or strategy out there. But I've been testing these things and playing with these things, and they make a lot of sense. You know, there's nothing out here. It's like a magical formula that no one else has figured out in their life. The idea is, can I replicate this performance in the real world? And does it end up working? So in systems trading, we call this the forward testing phase, right? You can back test and make whatever pretty equity curve you want, but then you need to see if that translates in the real world. A lot of that just comes with experience back testing, making sure you're not, you know, making any funny numbers or curve fitting or doing any of that, which again is just an experience thing. And then from there comes, okay, well, now I got to play with it in the real world. I got to see what this looks like and see what this feels like in the real world. So that's kind of what we're doing now. One of the cool things, again, when I worked at Trade Ideas, you know, we were partnered with Trade the Pool, and that's how I got to know Michael and all that. And again, one thing I liked about it is that demo trading is boring. You know, we should all do it, but demo trading is boring. But you buy, you know, you put a little bit of money down, you buy a small account, and all of a sudden it becomes interesting, because if your demo trading ends up working out, if I'm testing these strategies and they end up working out the same way that they did in paper, well, great. Well, now someone's going to give me money to trade them. And if they don't, the account blows up. It's okay. You know, obviously, if you just want to save the money, you just demo trade it. But I think it puts a little bit more excitement into it. There's a potential win at the end of my demo trading if these systems end up working well. And if not, we'll find out together, because my plan is to trade them live every day with you guys and Mitch to see how they work. So iRobot coming down a bit, didn't hit my stop just yet. But yeah, underwater on that position. Certainly. MBOT still about flat in. It popped up, tried to hit that VWAP, failed from it. Maybe an ad with a lower stop if this continues. And then DLTR, I retook that short, and it hasn't moved too much again. I put the stop up at way up here at kind of above 77 or 76 and a half. Again, the out for these strategies, just because again the complication of testing something with data going back 25 years is, you know, you can't get super granular on things. So the out for them is technically the end of the day. What I've been doing, and what the idea that Mitch had that I kind of like, is just when I get to the point where I know this average gain is roughly 2 times my average risk, when I know that I hit that, maybe put out a stop loss at that point and then say, okay, I'm either going to make 2 times my money or 2 times my risk, sorry, or the thing is just going to go all day, and then that's great. And as soon as I can put those out, those stop loss out, I can walk away from the screen. I know the system will kind of auto liquidate at the end of the day, which is perfect. Right? I just kind of have all that sorted when it comes to those, right? So as these things test, and if they start to test well, the idea is for me to figure out how to come up with more and more automation behind it, because as a systematic trader, my goal is to trade as many things as I can. And to trade as many things as I can, I need to automate as much as I can. So that'll be an interesting process to show you guys as well. I think there's a lot of time that people spent staring at screens that they don't necessarily have to, especially in a world like we have today, where we have all kinds of cool stuff that we can play with. Alerts that go to our phone, right? The ability for our phone to, you can, install the Trade the Pool app on your phone as well. So, if there's one area on one stock or one index that you're looking for, you can just set out those alerts and go on your day. And if it pings you, great. And if not, at least you're not wasted your whole day staring at a screen, which is not fun. And that's my game plan with these is get more and more and more systematized, right? Because as I talked about in the beginning, I am admittedly an awful day trader. I've tried it a bunch. I in my youth I did it okay. I am way better of a swing trader. I'm more of an analytical person. So, where can I use technology to make up for that? And I think Trade the Pool does a great job where I could be trading other people's money. That's great. And then B, all the tools that are offered could definitely help automate a lot of the things away, so I can do more of what I do best, which is just building up strategies, analyzing markets, doing that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm muting here to cough a bit because I have a child in daycare that
Oh yeah, no, you got that. You probably got that mycoplasma that's going around. That is no fun. That's what we've been doing. My wife is a nurse, and she spends some time in daycare and schools and around, young patients.
Germ factories. I swear they have a meeting every morning, and they say, okay, who's sick? Now cough on us, so we all get sick and we all bring it home to our parents. Like they're spreading it around the best they can. So just feel great, feel okay. Just a little bit of a cough that's been around for weeks now. It's not going away.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's how it goes.
NOBL ETF actually just turned red, and that's interesting. So Noble NOBL is the Dividend Aristocrats ETF. So this is an ETF where to be a dividend aristocrat, you need to have a dividend and raise it every year for like 20 years. I think it's a really long time. Like you have to rate every year, you got to raise the dividend. So these are, your big established boring guys and not doing too well. So that's kind of interesting to me, where again, it's showing, I track this ETF and I use this ETF as something to measure like value, like the boring stocks. How are the boring stocks doing? And you can see not too well at all on these boring names. But when it comes to SMH, well, that broke out and is having a great day. That broke out of this wedge that we're having right here. And it so far is having a great day. So again, the trend continuing of growth versus value, right? So we care about AI, we care about Ozempic, we care about quantum computers and robots and all that kind of cool stuff. We don't care about Coke and Pepsi and real estate income trusts and that kind of boring stuff. So still very much a better's market, right? A degenerate market, I guess you could put in a lot of the different coins, right? Some that I will not mention on stream because of their names are good ways to show that this market is absolutely rocketing when it comes to, again, risk on. That's what I think is a good way to look at it, is that if SMH was going down and NOBL, which is our dividend aristocrats, if they're going higher, then we're probably in like a really risk-off environment where people are worried about the future of the economy and this kind of thing. If SMH, which are semiconductors, and the Qs are all ripping, and then we have some names like the dividend aristocrats, the boring guys. We have some names like, what was this? RWR, which is a real estate ETF, right? These are down on the day. Again, it shows you that people are very hungry for risk, and they're looking to put on risk in the market. So if you're a bull and if you're buying some of these crazy names, then that's exactly what you want to see. So have at it. MBOT is turning around a bit, so I might have to kill that for a tiny loss. And MBOT's trying to move a little higher here. Let's put back on the VWAP. Yeah, so it's gone above the VWAP. It looks like it's holding, so I'll give it another couple minutes. And if it doesn't look good, I'll kill that one. If we break back below VWAP, I don't know, maybe an add. DLTR, this is just not doing anything. So which is to be expected from something like DLTR. I don't expect this to be the craziest name out there. And what else are we watching? Oh, iRobot is IRBT. RBT is had that push, and now it's kind of chilling. So no add to this, right? The rules are I can add to things that I'm up on. I can't add to things that I'm down on. That's just kind of how I roll. I think it's probably a pretty good way to do it, right? You don't want to go crazy. Adding to losers, I think can definitely get problematic. I think we've all been there. You buy something or short something, it goes against you. You add to it, you add to it, you add to it, and eventually you're stopped out for the day, right? So. So we got like 13 minutes left, and I know I'm brand new here, day one, so certainly ask questions. If you have any questions about the market, any questions about me, I figured out how to get the chat, so I'm looking at this now. So yeah,
happy to give you any pointers you'd like here, but it seems like you got your patter on a roll there, so I just don't want to break in,
Well, I don't want to rant if you got something to talk about, but yeah, it's kind of what I do. I love it. I love that I get to talk about the market, and there's some people out there that are kind of interested in what I got to say. So, living the dream, I guess. Been doing this for a long time. iRobot is still interesting. I think this MBOT, I think it's probably time to go on this. Yeah. It doesn't look like it's going to reverse here. Again, the idea is we want to see a pretty quick reversal on this. So where's MBOT? So let's just take that and say goodbye. So we have iRobot and DLTR. Nothing really new coming through the systems. So that will probably be the two trades for the day. And I'll probably just hold those to close. Currently up $20-$30. So better than a red day on day one, that's for sure. The game plan I think is going to be, because again, the test on the system is at the close. I'll probably do what Mitch suggested. I think that's probably a good idea of just, check them periodically from my phone. And if they reach that level, that's kind of 2 times my risk, put out a really tight stop loss and then walk away. They either go all day, which would be great. Every now and then you get a massive winner, or in most cases, they probably come back and clap you. That's less fun, but it is what it is. That's trading. Someone was asking, I think, via email. Someone emailed me. About these strategies. And listen, I'll be doing on here every day talking about them. So that'll be the best way to learn about them. They're not tested yet, right? I know everyone gets excited. You show a nice pre-equity curve. MBOT will definitely crash now that I killed that position. That's just the way things work.
Yep.
But yeah, so the stats as given is, a 55% win rate and a profit factor of 1.4. So profit factor essentially means you take all your winners and you add them up. And you take all your losers and you add them up and you divide them. So a profit factor of 1 means for every dollar you're risking, you're, basically breaking even. A 1.4 profit factor, which is what this is, just means that for every dollar of loss, you're making $1.5 on average over the 25 years. Sharp ratio of 2.82 for your fellow nerds that know what that is. And this is tested across 79,000 trades. So it's a pretty good, robust sample set, right? Worst thing you can do when testing strategies, and I see this all the time, is someone will come to you with like 5 trades. They'll say, look, I tested these 5 trades and it worked. So I figured out the market, right? So that's why I do such long-term testing, even for day trading strategies. I want to see what happened during the great financial collapse. I want to see what happened during 2020. I want to see now. In most cases, when you're talking day trading strategies, they should do really well when the market's just chaotic. Maybe you size down a little bit because, right, things are chaotic, but it's the swing trading that becomes very hard, I believe, when things are chaotic, which again is why we talked about this before the open, which is why I'm interested join trade the pool and starting to do a little bit more day trading, even though I'm historically very bad at it. I think there'll be times where my swing trading strategies, and I saw that in 2022, where it just wasn't fun to be a swing trader, right? I was getting by. I think I had a little bit of a break-even year, but it's not fun to trade all year and just hold on. Where if I was doing that from the swing trading side of things, but then I had a day trading count from Trade the Pool, and those systems were doing well, then that's great. Diversification across strategy as opposed to diversification across asset is kind of what I'm looking at here. So SPY, yeah, just continuing to chop here. Sorry, you were mentioning London close. Is that in top of the hour? Is that 8 minutes from now?
That's 11:30, so we won't be here for that. But
okay,
as I said, often you'll get moves going into it. Same as with our power hour as well, right? And then you'll get some interesting reversals off of it. It looks like Nvidia just popping there, like that's pretty nuts.
Oh yeah,
as
breakout.
Well.
Yeah, a little breakout in Nvidia. Again, a lot of people I know get cranky when new highs, when one stock is kind of leading the market. But the way I look at it, it's kind of the same as sports. You want your star player to lead, right? So I think it's totally okay to have Nvidia killing it. So yeah, I think this is doing great. So yeah, new highs, new all-time highs. Not yet. Close. Very, very close. Which is very weird, right? You would expect all of the people who made so much money last year in Nvidia, the beginning of this year, to start, if they're going to take profits, because, right, you're deferring that tax a whole year, but it looks like that's not the case. People aren't ready to take profits on this name yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that would, I guess, be the reason the SMH. And I have this.
No, wow, Disney just curled up. Wow, that just, if you were looking for a right shoulder there, that would have just been brutal. When we're pushing again, Pfizer target looks like it's basing there. It looks like it could be a little bull pennant forming. Excuse me. So, yeah, honestly, I think possibly in retrospect, this morning was kind of a crazy morning, and then this afternoon maybe where it's at. I have the feeling we're going to see some interesting direction out of today, and we'll just have to see what that is.
Yeah, we're getting close to this box that I drew, right? That's just, again, just these wicks. I just drew it around these prior wicks. So we're getting into there, and we've come a long way to get there. So I don't know, maybe, I don't know if we struggle from it and sell off. That seems a little bit too easy for what the market's doing right now, or if we just consolidate around there for a period of time. But I think if we get through this box, then, and like that'd be the high of this wick right here, I think all-time highs are coming, and a lot of people are going to have to chase. It's not going to be fun. Not going to be fun for them. Fun if you're if you've got stuff, right? If you own things right now, you're having a good time. If you
Yeah,
wish you
yeah.
own things right now, you're having a bad time.
And I'm curious. I would like to take a look at options flow today, and I'm not really a options flow guy exactly, where people can kind of read into it. But I am curious what we're going to see here. If we're going to see a lot of, or if we are seeing a lot of call selling up here, right? If people who are holding these names, right, like this could be a good point to sell some covered calls, right? So,
what's the
that's
volatility at UVXY? Yeah,
that's the 3x one, yeah. I think 3x. For sure.
Yeah, that'd be the only problem with selling vol, right, or selling calls right now, right? Is your vol is just nothing. So even if you do get a move down, if it's aggressive, you get that vol spike. That's why I haven't done too much with options. That just confused me. I remember during the whole GameStop, the original GameStop fiasco, way back in the day.
Fiasco. That was amazing.
I when it hit, like, I forget what it was at the time, before the split, but I bought a bunch of puts. I'm like, this is insane, right? This is definitely going to crash, and it did crash back down. But I didn't know, I never really traded options, so I ended up making nothing, because what was happening is the volatility that I paid was so high that even though it crashed, like 80% or something in a couple days, the vol crush that happened just kind of evened everything out. So I just sat there going, okay. So I was 100% right on what was going to happen. I made absolutely no money doing it, because there was no way I was going to short stock through that. That would have been a suicide mission. But yeah, so one of those, it's like, before I do options, I have to do a little bit more research on it. Because things can get wild if you don't understand those, which I certainly am just not good enough to. Natural gas has started to turn around, so that might be something I do. We only got a couple minutes left. Well, let's look at the 30-minute chart. Not UNH, UNG. Yeah, I kind of like that we've bottomed out here. So I may take, in my big boy account here, I think I'll just probably make my life easy. If we get above this $17, which I'll set an alert for, that's where I'm going to buy some UNG, and I'm going to stop out. For those who weren't here in the beginning when we were talking about this, so get rid of that, and then get rid of this. So this is a 200-day moving average on UNG, and I've never seen anything respect a moving average as well as this, right? Lows right here, highs right here, highs. As soon as it got below this 200-day moving average, just every time it hit it, like 5-10 times in a row, it just got rejected over and over and over again. So then we break through and we come back and test it. That to me is very interesting. It's showing that, right, it was resistance, it's now support. So, I'm looking to take a shot on it. So the idea was, right, you grab the 30-minute chart. Coincidentally, that's a 200-day moving or 200 period moving average on the 30-minute chart. I was looking for some area or some reason to buy it. So we had a little bit of sell off in the morning. If we're going to reverse, get through $17 a share, I think that's going to be where I'm going to pull the trigger on my big boy account. And then on this daily chart, right, we got 15-ish a share. That's probably, if we get below that and we close below that, that will probably be my out. And then for taking profits, I don't want to get too excited, but even if we just get back to this consolidation right here, that's like nearly a double, right? So that's what I'm looking for is, what's the probabilities I'm right? Probably pretty low, right? Probably less than 50-50, but I'm risking $2 a share ish if it gaps down, which, the Widowmaker is definitely known to do. Maybe I'm risking $3 or $4 a share. And if I'm right, I'm making $15 a share. It's like I have to take that bet, right? I have to be able to take that shot, even though I don't expect to be super right on this position overall. So that is my idea when it comes to iRobot. I thank you very much, Tim, for coming on day one. I'm glad I wasn't riding solo there. I hope with whatever's going on and Mitch is going okay.
Yep.
Cool. So I don't have the power to say goodbye to the people, but I think you might, hopefully.
Yep. Let me go, and we can set you up with that as well. I think there was some juggling of credentials and accounts today, so we sorted that out. I'm just going to make sure that we have our outro all set up. Yep. So cool. All right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and great meeting you, Michael. Great talking with you, and yeah, I look forward to some more conversations, getting into it a little more when we see how this year starts to shape up.
Awesome. So, thanks for having me.
Yep. Cheers.